But man, I got some hot skill. You too, Barker.
All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Welcome to the Winds of Sur Salin Session 5. Before I get started, I just want to say, if this feed dies, we will post the new link to the new feed on my Facebook page, facebook.com/beabettergamemaster. And, we're ready to go. Hold on one second. Hold on. Gotta fix this. I always do that. Okay. My name is Barker. You're at my channel, Be a Better Game Master. You can also find me at beabettergamemaster.com or the Roll Up and Die podcast at facebook.com/rollupanddie. We have the Winds of Sur Salin as a campaign that's kind of been going on for the past 5 months. And we'll go ahead and introduce ourselves really quick. We'll go ahead and start from my left to right. Go ahead, Kathy, and introduce yourself and your character.
Wait a second. What's my name?
Cassie?
Okay. I heard Kathy.
I definitely know you're not Kathy.
Okay, good. Because apparently people at work think that I'm either
Sarah,
Stretch or Kathy.
Sarah.
Yes. So, my character's name is Nimriia Forestwalker. She is a druid tiefling. I've definitely enjoyed getting to develop her, and I can't wait to start tonight's game. Glad we're here.
Awesome. James, you're up. Big man. Chris Pratt.
There we go. Hey guys, my name is James. I am from. I'm the only person that runs the channel Tabletop Terrors. Some other guy's gonna tell you different. Don't listen to him. He's an imposter.
That one.
I am playing Gaharl Clanless, and I'm very excited yet again to play. It's been a long time, and I'm super stoked.
All right, Matt.
Hey there, my name is Matt. I run the channel A Fistful of Dice, and I will be playing Orin Bramble and his owl familiar Pebble, and you'll find that Pebble does all of the talking for the two of them. And I'll just echo what others have said and say that I'm super stoked to be traipsing about Sur Salin again.
Sweet man. Timothy.
My name is Tim, and I run the channel A Fistful of Dice, and today I'll be playing Orin. There's only room for one Orin around here, Matt, and I'm going for it. Like the gift game. No. I'm Tim. James and I run Tabletop Terrors, and I am playing Quintrek Coppermist, and you can check out this coming Monday will be our first full video and pay what you want PDF. So go over there on Monday and check it out, and hopefully you guys like what we're doing.
Absolutely. If you guys like awesome advice and heavy production value, Tabletop Terrors is the shit. So before we get started, I just want to ask really quick, if you guys think that you know other people on your Facebook page who would enjoy watching a game like this, go ahead and share the link at the top to your page. Also, I'm wearing my Seattle Seahawks jersey, which means I'm going to run this game all night long. I'm going to run this game, and then at the very last minute, I'm going to pass it. Anyway.
I don't even like football, and I got that joke.
All right. So because the internet... Sports! Yeah! Sports! Okay.
Go Rain.
The internet is so shoddy. Yeah. The internet is a little bit shoddy, a little bit of a delay, so I'm going to go ahead and disable my camera, which starts now. All right, can you all hear me?
Yep.
Okay. All right, let's begin Session 5 of the Winds of Sur Salin, Scales and Octaves. I will begin today with an excerpt from the intricately written Histories of Unkea by Brelin the Bard. If I asked you, who was the most important person in the history of Unkea? The one person most responsible for how the world was. who would you pick? Would you choose, I don't know, Porthos of the north? And that might be an easy choice. Uniting the Dyrachus clans into a single nation would be deserving of such remembrance. Or perhaps you would pick Octa the Magnetic, the half-elf who ruled as king of all the elves. Or maybe perhaps Celestia, the warrior who crossed the Bleak in order to bring her revolution of the people to the farthest reaches of Arbitrom. Or you could pick Blaze the Mad, Cassandra the Dragonslayer, even a group such as the Winds of Sur Salin, the Scarlet Wish, or perhaps even Gaharo Cardale for all that he did for the Dragonborn. Personally, I would choose someone less known. I would choose Thoric Graveldust. If you hadn't heard of him, I'm not surprised. He is, honestly, but a footnote in the tomes of Uncaen history, but to my eye, he has done more than any one man. Ever. He was the beginning. The first domino in the line. The catalyst for what was about to come. It had been 2 weeks to the day that Thoric had taken the life of Lady Erin Aurora. Pebble, the owl, also famous to history, was perched upon the handrail of the airship, known as the Erinal Laith, looking at him now, all bound up with magical restraints. He looked as if he was asleep, perhaps, or maybe just stoic. Pebble, is there anything you want to say to this dwarf who committed the assassination of Lady Erin in the town of Myra before you fly away to another of the characters?
Pebble just kind of cocks his head, looking at the dwarf, and then says, "Are the restraints comfortable?"
Thoric looks up at you. Kind of a squint in his eye, almost as if the light is too bright, but you know that can't be true. It has always been dark in Myra since you got here, and it is even darker now that the forest canopy is expanding over the city itself, blotting out the sun. It can't, it's got to be midday right now, but it's still completely dark. And he kind of does what he can to blink out any wetness or dryness from his eyes. And he says, "Who goes there?"
"Well, it's me, Pebble the Owl."
"Oh, yes. The owl. Are my restraints comfortable?" He looks down and sees that these restraints are magical. They're glowing kind of a light sky blue around his wrists, around his ankles, around his knees, around his neck, holding him to the makeshift chair that he's sitting upon, and even around his eyes, as you can see. That's what's keeping him kind of squinting. "I think comfort is the last thing on my mind. I will be comfortable to know that the Dwarven cause, the Hill Dwarven cause, the long fought-for Dwarven cause, has been fought for once again." "Oi! You shut up there!" And a half-elven man runs up and kind of clubs him on the side, and he goes quiet again. You see that he's aboard this large ship manned by elves, lots and lots of elves. Every once in a while you'll see a half-elf there kind of with them, but mostly elves, and he does as he's told.
And Pebble will simply say, "Your cause has left 2 rulers dead and a city in chaos. you've done more harm than good to your people.
And he says, I pray to all the gods that you might be mistaken.
What do I know? I'm just an owl.
Who do you fly to, Pebble?
I suppose I will go check on Nimriia first.
Excellent. Okay. Pebble takes off from his perch on the kind of handrail of the ship, and the ship lifts up into the sky as winds begin cycloning underneath it, pushing it up, thrusting it up. There's been a hole cut into the forest canopy by the elves, and they're constantly having to keep trimming it because it keeps growing and growing and growing. But a hole specifically made so ships can land and take off. And it takes off and it goes through the canopy of the woods and disappears into the sky. Pebble flies over what looks like a nighttime lamplit street of Myra. Although, again, you know it is daytime. It is in the middle of the afternoon, rather. You see a temple of Corellon. Little did Pebble know at this moment that steel statue, the steel statue on the top of the temple, the statue of Corellon, would, in less than a year, be melted down into swords for the war. You fly into your own airship, the Reach, through certain passageways and into another room that is just kind of inhabited by beakers and vials and glassware and it's obviously a laboratory that is entirely alive, and you see a tiefling who is just gazing at some sort of thing. Nimriia, go ahead and describe yourself.
Nimriia looks into a flask, carefully corking it. It is the essence of the Mania Orchid. She's managed to capture the chemical that causes these crazy hallucinations and delusions. No easy feat. And right now she's been in the middle of trying to make an antidote, since the forest is just climbing over everything. There's no doubt that these plants will reach other people and try to attack them again and consume them, however it will. And so she saw that there was going to be a need for this. And besides, it's such a new plant, and she's been cataloging various new species throughout the 2 weeks. And now, with a pair of glass goggles on her face, she looks to the door, hearing the gentle flutter of his wings. And with a smile, she says, hello, Pebble. You caught me in the middle of finally getting this. I'm just one step closer. So excited.
And Pebble will flutter into the room and kind of take a perch wherever there's a safe sort of area that he can sit. And he kind of cocks his head looking at the concoction that Nimriia is holding, and he says, yes, hello, Lady Nimriia. What is it that you're almost getting?
It's the Mania Orchid, Pebble. See, I've managed to, well, I know it sounds ludicrous, but I've developed, a spell that it's a little difficult for some druids, but I can actually speak with the plants and understand what exactly the essence is, what causes, these hallucinations. What is that thing? The specific thing. And I've managed to isolate it right now, and I hope to make a wonderful antidote for it, or perhaps I can incorporate it onto my own weapons.
Both seem like valid applications, in my opinion.
So, how fares the elves? I'm glad we finally have Thor captured.
Yes, the elves just set off in their ship. I don't like imagining what fate awaits our Hill Dwarf assassin, but I imagine no friends await him in the elven lands.
It'll be suitable, whatever happens, to kill such monarchs of their city.
He spoke of a cause, the Hill Dwarf cause. It makes me think that he's not alone and that we should tread lightly while we're here. There are likely others that have the same opinion and maybe are capable of the same or worse than he did.
As soon as you say that, Pebble, you hear footsteps walking down this kind of the corridor of the Reach, and before you see his face, you hear his voice. "Oi, I'm just going to see my friends." And in walks Alstrom, who was the guard that allowed you into Nimriia, who accompanied you to the temple, which is otherwise actually the tavern in Nimriia, and disappeared during a couple of weeks ago. He's been in the healing quarters recently, and you can tell that he might be getting better due to his personality, but you can look at his face and see the beating that he took from Thoric when he began to kind of quiz them as to what was going on after you slipped through the hole in the floor of the tavern to further investigate the kind of the Nimriia underworld. And his entire left side of his face is just blue and purple. And he's kind of holding it a little bit, but he says, "Oi, what you looking at, Owl? It's not every day a man gets his ass beat by someone half his size, but it ain't no less embarrassing."
I apologize, Elfstrom. How are you faring?
Physically, not too well, but compared to how it's going here in Nimriia, well, I'm pretty dandy. Thinking about leaving, actually.
Leaving?
Leaving. Merricore looks nice. Over the mountains, back to the, I don't know, where I grew up, the homeland, in Porkay, or even north to Talonfall. But I'm not sure. I haven't decided whether or not I'm going to stay in Sur Salin.
Why do you intend on leaving, if you don't mind my asking, aside from the well-placed dwarven punches that found your face?
As if those ain't enough, right?
Well, a couple of well-placed blows making you leave your home seems odd. There has to be something else.
The elves be moving in. I got no problem with the elves myself, mind you, but I've served as guard in Nimriia for close to a year. They won't take kindly to someone who worked under Con Collo. I expect there's going to be an inquisition. Not to make it sound terrible, I'm sure they're just going to ask a few questions, but I'd rather avoid that altogether.
And do you think this inquisition will inquire after us, the ones who brought Thoric to justice?
Honestly, I don't think so. Everybody seems to be taking kindly to you, sir. Well, especially the elves, being as you helped Lady Erin and all figure out who the murderer was. It was too late, but I don't think they're going to forget your kindness. But either way, I'm never going to get used to talking to an owl. So I think I'm going to step in here and grab the water that I wanted, and I'm going to take my leave, if you don't mind, sir. Or ma'am. To be honest, I don't know.
Oh my gosh, just... Elfstrom, please move along.
Oh, sorry, milady. You're at work here. And he walks over and he takes a water skin and, kind of bows to the owl, and then bows to Nimriia more naturally and takes his leave.
And Pebble, matches the bow and then says, "Take care, Alstrom. Travel safe."
Check to make sure that's actually water. I don't know if that's what you expect to find in here.
He looks at it, and he pulls the cork, and he smells it. And then he puts the cork back in and thinks for a second. And he sets it down on a little table, and he says, "You know what? Better not." And he just walks out the door.
Smart man.
All right. Pebble, who are you going to go see next?
I'm gonna go see what my buddy Gaharl's up to.
All right, so Pebble flies out of the reach through actually a small little crack in the ceiling wood that Pebble has located that no one else can fit through, flying up into the sky and downward toward the streets. And you always know where Gaharl is in Nimriia because there's a crowd there. It's a dragonborn. It's a freaking dragonborn. You see mostly elves, but there are some hill dwarves there. And you see Gaharl kind of in the midst of this market stall. And you hear a person who's running his market stall say, "Hello, sir. Sir Dragonborn, you look like you could use some Auroran rugs. They really tie the room together." And Gaharl, what do you do? And tell me what you see and what you look like and just basically what the situation is.
So Gaharl is wandering through this market, and he's very well aware of everyone following him, so it's almost a bit of a game. You know, he'll go this way and kind of fake him out and start turning around and watch all the people try their best to pretend they're not crowding. And so he stopped at this particular stall and finds it very funny that this fellow thinks that a Dragonborn needs a rug to tie a room together. And so Gaharl is not at this point very sober. For some reason, he just, it's been a few weeks. He's been doing some exploring, but today it's been a good day. And so he tells this guy, he says, "I've got armor. I've got weapons. I've got plenty of things that tie a room together. Hell, I don't even have a room to tie together. The hell do I need a rug for?"
Well, and he hangs the rug back up. And he doesn't really say any other syllables and or words for the entire encounter.
So come on, what else you got? Listen. I know you got something in the back there. Show me the good stuff. I'm looking to spend some coin. What do you got for me?
He shakes himself off and kind of turns around, and he actually pulls out a small cask, and he opens it, and inside, as soon as you see the tobacco that kind of line that has filled this cask, the smell, it is Endergreen Reserve, which is the most premier gnomish tobacco in Enkea. I mean, this is what these people are known for, and as soon as you see it, you hear the fluttering of wings coming down toward you.
All right. Now you're speaking my language.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, Pebble kind of comes to a hurtling land on Gaharl's shoulder and immediately bends down to look into the cask and says, "Is that preserve?"
Listen, you got to get a whiff of this. This guy tried to sell me a rug. This is where it's really at here.
It's not just any rug. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry, Mr. Owl.
Pebble bends down and kind of, as much as an owl can, takes a whiff. And a few blocks away, Orin leans back and closes his eyes as he gets a whiff too. And Pebble says, "Oh, Gaharl, you need to buy as much of this as you have gold."
And so I'm gonna suddenly, Gaharl is gonna, we'll say, turn it on. He immediately, he's not sober and he was kind of being playful, but he is a big fan of Endergreen Reserve, so he gets very serious, kind of bends down, gets a little taller, and he looks at the man and he says, "How much for the whole lot?"
My normal price is
Listen. I don't care about normal prices. What are you giving me, the Dragonborn? How much am I paying for this Endergreen Reserve?
Well, to be honest, sir, if you would and he slides you a sheet of paper, and it says on it that James Westfold is the greatest marketeer in all of Myra, perhaps even all of Sur Salin. Signed, blank. If you could just sign this.
Oh wow. So, okay. All right. No. So I didn't catch your name. You said it's James then?
James, sir.
Oh, okay. Absolutely. Yeah. Give me a quill. Come on. Just absolutely.
He pulls the quill out, and he pulls the ink out, and he uncorks it, and ink kind of splatters on the paper a little bit. And he says, I'm sorry, it's just, it's not every day. Oh, forget it. And he sets it in front of you. And
so, very deftly, not daftly, very deftly, Gaharl takes this quill, and he writes in very non-Dragonborn looking common script, very beautiful script, Gaharl, and then an X for clanless. And he slides it back, and he says, well, if that's all you need, then absolutely. It's not. I'll be your friend for a Casca in Green Reserve any day. And he gives you the most gracious bow, and he says, if I seem to be shaking, sir, it is not because I am nervous. It is because I like to shake. And he bows. And I bow back, and I tell him, well, for the best marketeer in the land, as, prophesized by me myself, maybe cooled down on the shaking. I will work on it, sir. Thank you, my Lord Gaharl X. And so he takes one more good whiff of this tobacco and closes it up, and he's ready to hear what Pebble has to say, and he's very curious, of course, what everyone else is doing. You actually see, out of the corner of your eye, you see Quintrek being approached by a large elf, a very handsome elf, gaunt cheekbones, small, subtle fangs off the bottom of his, the bottom canines of his teeth, shock white hair, gorgeous pale skin, but a stern face, clad in what looks to be thick leather armor, which has been dyed a crimson red, and on his back is an ornate but somewhat worn katana. Quintrek, you see this man approach you, this elf, and he says, "Hello, my brethren. I have heard that you are one of the so-called adventurers here in Sur Salin, that all of us have been so, graciously blessed with the knowledge." I'm just going to cut with the cordials. My name is Ellis. What is yours?
Oh, yes, it's certainly a pleasure to meet you. They call me Quint.
Quint, yes. And he kind of glances at your ears. Ah, half-elf, as I was told. And he kind of looks at you quizzically, and then he looks around. Have you any information about this city? I have not been here since I was a young boy.
Well, the thing of it is, I'm pretty new here myself. I would say there are a couple good places to eat. Stay away from that fellow. And I would kind of point at the Dragonborn who has his nose just sniffing his new purchase.
Wow.
What particularly are you looking for?
And his eyes are still staring at the Dragonborn that you pointed out, and he just kind of mouths the word incredible. And he looks back at you. I will regretfully, reluctantly, be taking over lordship of Myra. Lady Orin was my sister. I am Ellis Moonshadow. Ellis Moonshadow Aurora. And he kind of puts his hand in a fist, and he kind of puts it against his chest over his heart and gives you a bow.
immediately upon the revelation of who he was, you would see that Quint would certainly have grief in his eyes, and he would bow in return and say, my very deepest condolences. She was lovely, and we did all we could.
Could you roll a diplomacy check for me, please, Quintrek?
Oh, yes, natural 19. For fun, let me add.
For fun, let me add. Signed, no third grader ever.
How about a 28?
How about a 28? Woo-hoo! Actually, he mentioned earlier that he had never seen, that he hadn't been here since he was a young boy. And you knew before that Lady Erin had been here since she was a young girl. Right. But all of a sudden, seeing your face, he gets this kind of wetness in the corner of his eye, and he wipes it, and he says, Quint, it is very appreciated, your condolences. I have not seen my sister since I was but a little boy, but it is always a hardship when our own brethren leave this world. And he kind of notes at your half-elven self, and he says, as I'm sure you'd understand.
Yes, very much.
But I digress. I hear, actually, from everyone that you did all that you could for my sister while she was in power. Many people tell us that you were the only ones to come to her aid, and that you outed the murderer, albeit too late, but that was not of your doing. And I'm not sure if you are aware of the customs in Aurora, but we High Elves, we do not refuse gifts, and we also do not accept gifts that we do not need. Sentimental value is our form of currency in Aurora. There is no money, just sentiment. And he looks at your weapon, Quintrek, and he says, it is obvious to me, looking at that gorgeous blade, of which I have never seen a liking before, that you do not need the gift that I am about to give you, but I am going to give you this gift anyway for you to gift to another person. And he, before you can even react, he reaches into a bag and he pulls out what looks like a black mother of pearl hilt connected to a small kind of dagger, but like a katana. And I can't remember what the name is. If any of you can,
Wakizashi.
Oh, Wakizashi. And he hands it over to you, hilted in black mother of pearl. And he says, if you, sir, could gift this to whoever you deem, I don't know, worthy, then our debt here will be complete.
And Quint would take the sword, and I would imagine that it would be lighter than it looked, and that where he would expect the scabbard to make a clicking noise or there to be some kind of play, that there isn't. That it's whole, it's entire, and it's beautiful. And he almost stops himself, but really can't, as he slowly pulls the blade out of its scabbard. I imagine that the blade itself would also, I mean, do you have something in mind, or?
No, go ahead. I did, but you know what? I'd rather you make it up.
I imagine the flattest black. Something that is almost negating light. So not glistening, not shining, not anything other than almost nullifying light, but in a way that's beautiful and almost compellingly deadly. And I would say that Quint would just kind of have something pop in his mind, and he would hold the blade and he would say, "A possession this fair, to what do I owest? Nor shall death be under this wondrous shade, for someone will find death under this blade." And then he would kind of snap to, and I will take your instructions, and I will find someone worthy of holding this blade.
He kind of, again, blinks back a tear at your words, but he can't really hold it back this time, and he excuses himself. "Excuse me, Quintrek, I must attend to the Hill Dwarves, or the Salinas." And he looks to you and says, "More elves will be arriving soon. Myra is ours now, and if you need anything from us, you feel free to ask. I would recommend that many are not to be so kind as I am to those who have been here when we arrived. So, if at all possible, if you could resist aiding those hill dwarves who, I don't know, display revolutionary qualities." And he bows, and he puts his fist against his chest.
And Quint would do the same I'm going to actually try to see if I can do it politely mimicking him, showing him that I'm mimicking him on purpose without making it look like I'm...
Nice.
Yeah, all right. If a 14 unmodified, so I would say he could probably tell that I'm trying politely to do the same.
Awesome.
But Quint would then say, "So Moonshadow, I will take you up on your offer, and I would ask for one thing."
And he stops and kind of turns. Of course. What would that be, Quintrek? Or Quint. He doesn't know your full name, I'm sorry. Quint.
"When you need us, I ask that you wouldn't hesitate and call us just as soon as you need us." And as you see this, you kind of see the white part of Quint's pupil from, the last couple of weeks' events almost kind of glistens. And, he doesn't know whether or not he should say the next part, but I guess he does, and he just says, "We don't want anything happening to you, if you know what I mean."
He looks at you quizzically at first, and then... yes. Yes. As of right now, I do not think your services will be necessary, but thank you for your offer, and I will send you a crow at any point when I deem it necessary. The road to the east, I have been told, is now being cleared. It should be completely safe to travel that way. The road to the north, to Talonfall, we will be clearing over the next 2 weeks or so. Thank you, Quint. I do not believe I've ever met a half-elf that has been more... just thank you.
Well, you're very welcome. I have been told that I'm more elf than half, if you know what I mean.
I think you have the best of both qualities, sir. And you see Gaharl kind of moving towards you holding this cask.
Well, so basically, when I originally saw Quint, I would have began walking closer. But upon realizing from afar the sort of weight of the conversation, I would have nervously stayed sort of at a side. I just was so excited to show Quint what I bought that I was like very excited and then felt a little stupid because this was very important, and I realized I heard who this person was, and so I was sort of like on the outskirts, not sure what to do, kind of pretending I'm not listening, like just far enough away. And as soon as Ellis walks away, I begin to walk up to Quint, and I begin putting the cask away without saying anything, and I tell him, basically I'm a little jealous of the sword that he's been given, this wakizashi, and I feel a little stupid for how excited I got about this tobacco. So I kind of just put it away as I'm walking up, and I'm like, kind of really cool sword, like, hey, kind of just like, no, I didn't get anything,
As you kind of walk up and stand there somewhat awkwardly, you hear a and you look in the sky and a few fireworks kind of light off, and looking over across the road in front of this orphanage is Orin entertaining these Hill Dwarven and Elven children alike, who, unlike their adult counterparts, seem to be not segregating each other. They seem to be mingling like children would. And Orin, describe to me what's going on over there.
So Orin is using a cantrip that was kind of his bread and butter when he was younger, and it's this cantrip that allows him to conjure images in the air and create almost real figments that he uses to tell stories without speaking. And using lights and images, he's telling the story sort of C-3PO style about where the party has been so far. And so he conjures an image of an airship kind of floating in the wind, and then he sort of conjures this image of them going through the forest, and he has these plants and these vines kind of writhing through the air, and he has these kind of very sort of rudimentary, almost childlike stick figure representations of Nimriia and Gaharl and Quint and Orin kind of bouncing through the forest, and he has them. He kind of stops it as they get to Myra, kind of not wanting to minor illusion what has happened in Myra so far, and he just kind of does this, and the illusion just kind of explodes in kind of a spray of color and light that then kind of drifts to the ground like snow, and he kind of takes a bow as the light sort of dissipates.
And all the children are kind of jumping up and down like, yay! Kind of like the children at the beginning of Fellowship chasing Gandalf's cart. Like, yay! Like, they loved it. And
he kicks forward. He has a little hat on the ground, and he kind of nudges it with his foot like, now accepting donations.
The children obviously don't have money. But actually, some of the Elvish and Dwarven parents begin coming and collecting their children, and they do so firmly and resistantly. And one of the Elvish men looks at you and looks at these children and looks at the dwarves and says, "You should not be playing with such salinas." And he tosses a silver into your hat and says, "Thank you for keeping my children company." And he walks away, and a dwarf comes over and picks up his child, and actually pretty soon this escalates, and it looks like elves and dwarves are screaming at each other in the streets of Myra in this kind of market square.
And I would just kind of like pick up my hat and like kind of count whatever change I had in there, and then like slowly just like back into the nearest alley, just like, okay, I'm gonna go, like closing the door behind me as the fight is escalating.
Yeah. You find yourself with six. You find yourself 6 silver pieces richer.
Not
bad. Yeah. Shillings. 6 silver shillings.
Cool.
And you kind of count your stuff, and this. What do you do, Gaharl, we'll say, yeah, Quint Rec definitely. Nimriia, you might actually hear this ruckus outside. Do any of the three of you want to do something?
Okay. So, hearing it from within the reach, I open a small porthole that I usually keep closed and duck my head out, taking off the glass goggles to just see. It looks like a riot is about to start, pretty much, as people get more heated and uttering a few words of annoyance, like, oh my gosh, and feeling partly obligated that since we've tried to help the city and whatnot so much that maybe you should try and interfere. So, putting the flask aside and making sure everything's not going to go flying, I leave the reach, brandishing the sycamore shield as a elf attempts to chuck some rotten tomatoes or something at another dwarf and pretty much just be like, stop it, don't aim at me. Gahal, what is going on?
And I would, as soon as I heard a ruckus, I would sort of walk over knowing that generally my presence would disperse. And they would shrink back a little bit. I think they'd be so upset with each other and the events that they wouldn't care quite as much. So I would like to do my best to dispel the situation in the worst way possible. And I would like to intimidate them with a breath of fire in the air.
Go ahead and roll that intimidate with advantage, please.
Okay.
Bootyful. Like Beyonce.
What the hell, Marker?
Sorry.
I had to mute myself to have disbelief over that.
Oops.
All right, so...
Okay.
You thought it was just going to slide, too.
Yeah, I did.
You just said it and just like, hope nobody heard that.
It's surreal that I shut off my camera to save like bandwidth, and I can't see you guys. So like people in the chat are talking about your reaction when you did something, Matt, and I'm like, I didn't see anything. What happened?
It was my reaction when you were talking about the sword. I had a face.
Oh, you had a face. All right.
Yeah.
I can't wait to watch this. Anyway, a 15. Yeah, the crowd disperses, Gaharl. Just kind of both go their separate ways. But the intensity in this city is still there, obviously.
As they're leaving, I would shout something, sort of, like, it's not necessarily that Gaharl is stupid and doesn't understand the situation as much as he's upset that these people are, like, so prejudiced already, after what happened. Like, having been there, he's like, you guys don't have anything to worry, not every dwarf is... So he's mad, and he says something stupid like, he kind of screams to all parties, playing with Hill Dwarves is better than playing with Dragonborn, isn't it?
You don't get any responses other than the holy crap, that you got from the fire blazing through the sky. But as you speak those words, you hear a fluttering of wings from above, and Pebble might notice this probably first. Pebble, you'd see a very large crow like land kind of in the center of the market, and it's not large like beefy or muscular or scary. It is fat, man. This is like one of those pizza crows that you see behind the Papa John's that just kind of lives over the dumpster. Like this is a crow that gets fed all the time, and it has a note that is tied to its leg, and that note looks extra tiny when compared to the obesity of this crow. And it goes, "Pah!"
Who ordered the crow? Sorry.
And it kind of shakes its leg like, "I have this thing on my leg."
I think Quint would actually say, my size. It's quite well fed. I bet we could all catch it. Nimriia, you're quite good with animals. Why don't you see if you can't just sort of get a hoof on it?
Oh, what am I, a satyr? Okay. Waving a hand in the air, just kind of as if to get rid of whatever he said, to ignore it. She goes over to the crow, which clearly has no tie to its leg. It's supposed to be handled by at least people, probably not tieflings. So she just tries to go over and grab it. Grab the note.
The crow kind of like tips over on its side, just kind of like chilling there, kind of like a cat would, not very crow-like, and just lifts its leg up for you to just,
like a cat, like this. Like
I can't see you, so I'm just gonna say yes, exactly like what you do.
Good. Okay. So you got the note.
Yes, you do get the note, and you recognize on it the seal of Kanbaris of Maricor. And when you do open it, you read, "My friends, it has been a glorious time since you have left. Many people from all around the realm have heard of your existence and have heard of Maricor itself. For that, I must thank you. My question is, where are you? Of course, I understand that my brother has lost his life, but, well, no. It is very sad to see that this has happened. But we must move forward with business. To the northeast is where we believe the vampire to be located. It is very urgent that you report to this location because he has struck again. Now, don't tell anybody that I have written this, but this is not necessarily a bad thing. The tavern is full. People have come from far and wide to see the vampire. If you could capture it and bring it back, it would be most glorious. Also, my friends, to the north is the city of Talonfall. My old cousin used to run it, but now it is mostly run by humans. If you could inform them of your presence and of the new Adventurers Guild in Maricor, I would be most grateful. Lastly, of course, recognize that you can show up in Maricor on any day and get the finest meals and the finest sweets in the inn any time that you wish. Sincerely, your friend, Kanbaris.
So, guys, it seems that the Kanbaris is in need of our help. We have forgotten about that vampire problem they have going on.
Speak for yourself. I didn't forget about the vampire problem.
Well, I did.
Well, and at this point, Orin kind of sidles up alongside them, and he's just kind of has a cap, and he's kind of counting coins in the cap, and he kind of like looks up and just like sup nods everybody.
Sup nods.
And Pebble kind of bounces over and gets on his shoulder, and Pebble says, well, you did a good job of diffusing that situation, Gahal. Good to know that whenever the crowd gets rowdy, all you need to do is breathe fire and they'll calm down.
Once or twice. I've been in, well, such situations once or three, maybe 5 or 6 times. That probably max. That's happened.
Mm-hmm. So the vampire is loose again. What do you suggest we do here?
On the reach. Let's go take care of this.
Just go take care of the blood-sucking vampire. Yes, okay.
Hey, we've been on a good streak. I think we could do it. Okay.
Depends on your definition of a good streak.
Okay, I am getting a little bored in my lab. I miss being outdoors.
Oh, well, let's just jump right on it then if you're bored.
No, she has a point. We've been bored too. There's not much to do here in Myra. Although the forest is intriguing. Have you all noticed that it's eclipsed the sun?
We just used Gaharl's wonderful fire breath to try and get rid of it.
I think that everybody's avoiding the fact that he wants us to bring this thing back alive. Now listen, I've killed a lot of things. I've never killed a vampire. But most things that try to kill me don't usually make it out alive. I don't know how I feel about that.
I've never encountered a vampire before or know much about them, but I must admit that I'm not the biggest fan of trying to restrain one and bring it back to Maricor alive. I think that's an incredibly bad idea. Probably one of the worst ideas I've ever heard.
Any thoughts on why he even wants it alive? Nimriia says while looking at the fat crow that's still on the ground, floundering a little bit. And out of pity, she picks it up and starts to stroke its feathers. just getting ready to kind of, heave it into the air. So maybe you can take
give it a boost.
Yeah.
Give it a leg up. While Pebble is speaking, Orin kind of comes forward and pets the crow under its beak and kind of coos to it softly using his speak with small beasts ability. And Pebble will say, well, it seems that Converis has it in his mind that having a live vampire in the town will create some sort of tourist draw, although I think it would more be a tourist death trap if we brought a vampire to Maricor.
Yeah, well, I think his heart may be in the right place. He's a nice guy. Maybe we play this one by ear, but if I get a chance to kill this thing, I think I'm going to take it.
Yes, let's go into it without a plan for a change. That will be a nice change of pace.
Well, let's take a look at the legends. Let's take a look at what we're up against. So, just off the top of my head here, let me think, because I'm just Barker with a 16. I'm trying to do some sort of a I'm thinking because it's a supernatural creature, I don't know if I want to do some sort of a history check or like a religion, because it would be something that would be the evil of it. But I think I'm gonna go ahead and do some sort of history check.
Okay.
And so we're talking about. Okay, so 16.
And regarding vampires?
What I'm specifically trying to do is remember, and it doesn't have to be factual, but basically I'm trying to wrap my head around and tell the rest of the group, hey, I'm pretty sure they can turn into fog, and bats, and a wolf, and can disappear. I'm basically just trying to go, hey, let's not get so cavalier here with, yeah, let's go kill the vampire. Just trying to, hey, let's, what legends might I know that I could repeat or kind of bring up to say, hey guys, let's just take a relax for a second.
Great. You know of the legend of the Schism. And the Schism was a time in, this, what you would know as the wide world of Arbitron, in which a part of the Shadowfell split off from another part of the Shadowfell due to some evil magic within, specifically the magic of a vampire. And this section of Shadowfell crashed into Arbitron, so the legend speaks. You never know how these things turn out. And with it, vampires began roaming the world in parts of Arbitron. You know that in Enkea, there are not many vampires. In fact, to the point where they are a story told to children in order to kind of keep them scared. Don't go into the woods, kids. Don't go into the caves. Vampire. But the one thing you remember from the Schism is that if there's one vampire in a place, it's probably what many people call the Goresh, or the vampire's spawn. Not necessarily the glorious vampire, him or herself, but more of an undead zombie-like creature with this blood-sucking fetish.
Gotcha. So I would kind of related the group something like, I just get the sense that this isn't a fairy tale. Either there really is a vampire, and it's really gutting things and drinking them, or there's something else that's just as vile, just as dangerous. And all I'm saying is, if we go into this, we have to understand that this might not be as easy as things have been up to this point.
So I would, Gahara would say, well, if it breathes, I can kill it. Well, do you know if they breathe?
Frankly, I don't think they do. In fact, if my memory serves me right, they can change shape, they can turn into mist, they don't need air. If this is really a vampire, we're outnumbered by just the one vampire.
Well, that is a good point, but can we really just sit back and let it continue ravaging the countryside? I mean, it's probably only going to get stronger the more we leave it, but you are right. We should be cautious about it.
Well, here's what I've learned. You lot are my family. And I don't really have much of a home. So, I guess it's slaying vampires with my family rather than just being here alone.
You hear a voice that says, "Oi, that was beautiful." And you look over and you see Alstrom kind of wiping away a tear outside the circle. Ugh. And he kind of looks at you. "Oh, sorry."
Elstrom, what do you think? You think there's a vampire?
Probably. I mean, I've seen weirder things on the edge of the city, but... No, actually, that was a lie. I've never seen a vampire, nor have I seen anything as weird as a vampire on the edge of the city. Personally, I think the canopy of this forest is a little weird. I think the reports of portals appearing in the forest is a little weird. But I think a vampire, never seen it. But because you're going east to find a vampire, I think I'm going to go north to Talonfall.
This would definitely make Gahara laugh, and I would, despite his reservations, do the sort of grab him around the shoulder and give him sort of a noogie, I guess we'll say. You know, just like rubbing it like this guy, you know what I mean? Not really paying enough mind to his damage, or the fact that I'm potentially a foot taller than him and 100 pounds heavier, covered in scale.
Orin, or Pebble, you might have heard something that kind of piqued your interest just then.
Yeah. Having to do with the portals that he mentioned?
Yes.
Yeah. So I'll kind of say, well, the portal rumor is true, Elstrom.
No. Yeah, portals. I'll be honest. No, some people have gone into the woods and gone missing, but I mean, I'm hard pressed to believe that there are portals out there just because, you know, one person said, "Oh, I saw a portal from the Shadowfell." No, I saw a portal from the Feywild. Oh, I saw. Come on,
Elstrom.
Yes.
You're talking to an owl, Elstrom.
His face just kind of.
I'm a rock from the Feywild. I used to be a rock, Elstrom. How did I get here, I ask you?
Well, we all know magic exists, but I mean, come on. A direct portal to the Feywild, that's a children's story.
Many children's stories are weighed down by truth, Elstrom.
Okay, perhaps you're right. Maybe you're correct, but okay, let's say over the past many months, portals have started just sprouting up out of the blue. Just nowhere in particular, just jumping up. Why? That sounds ridiculous. And don't get me wrong, I ain't the smartest tool in the box. Wait, what? Either way, but still, I've got a brain, and I've seen some things, and the things I've seen are real. And, I am talking to an owl.
You are at that. And a dragon man, and an infernal-blooded woman, and, well, a half-blood who has a sword that sings. So, Elstrom, I'd say you could stand to open your mind a bit and broaden your horizons, and think maybe, just maybe, the reason why I'm afraid of going east is because I'm afraid that maybe the vampire is real, and maybe it will drink my blood.
Can you roll diplomacy, please, Orin, with advantage?
Yeah. I just rolled 2 3s, so...
Okay, I was just... Yeah, okay. He looks at the ground and says, okay, well, we'll say, hypothetically, that you're right. And but either way, I just wanted to stop by and say goodbye. And he kind of bows, kind of holds his hand out. He doesn't really know what the greeting is. Fist, like, kind of like when you go for a fist bump and someone goes to shake your hand and you're like, what do you do? He said, I just wanted, it's been a pleasure knowing you. And he, yeah.
And you, Elstrom. And Pebble looks at the rest of the party and says, well, I believe in vampires, or something like them, so maybe we should head east. It seems like things are only going to get worse here in Nimriia, and it might behoove us to put some distance between ourselves and the city.
I agree. I'm down for going.
Elstrom mentioned earlier that there might be some sort of inquisition. That's a scary word. I don't want to be here when that happens.
Agreed. Before you know it, they'll be stringing us all up, or trying.
Although, you seem to be pretty chummy with that elven fellow from earlier.
Yeah, I think he took a shine to me. I'm not sure if he's, well, you know, if he...
Oh!
Well, I'm not saying he was. I'm just saying I couldn't tell. And I'm not also saying that I didn't take advantage of it a little bit, but, I mean, you know, the guy just lost his sister. Fact is, we have a friend here if we need one. We'll just keep it as friends.
Gaharl, as much as he could with a dragonborn's lips, would make kissy noises.
Which Quint would observe as basically this awful, just maw of teeth with a tongue flicking the back of it. It probably would sound like sandpaper scraping nails.
And,
They'd be like,
if everybody looked at me, I'd say, what? That's how we kiss.
The point being, Quintrek, it might be something that we can leverage later on, if need be, if we find ourselves strung up, as you put it.
Agreed.
Awesome.
Many people gathered around to see the moment when the Reach lifted off. A very small crew of Nimriia, as you've met. Orin, Pebble, of course. I've mentioned a few times, I just love Pebble. Gaharl, Glandless, and Quintrek. Also aboard are 2 Ventigators. Wizards who can compel the magic of the wind to thrust the ship up as well as forward, if need be, in order to propel a ship through the sky. Anyway, I digress. Many people gathered round. It was a silent moment, indeed. Through the sky the Reach went, and those on board realized that it was not midday. The sun was setting, and the red, and the peach color, and the pinks, and the blues, and the violets, and the other assorted purples, spread themselves throughout the land, across the Ander Wood, turning the crimson forest into a darker, more beautiful, and very tranquil from above land, spreading out toward the horizon and the mountains beyond. The Ventigators, as this party would believe, come to understand, were mutes. They did not speak whatsoever. Often they could be seen talking to Orin, but just in symbols and laughter and pointing, and it's almost like they were speaking an entirely different language altogether. A beautiful sight. As you are heading kind of to the east, towards these ruins of Marthor, or where you kind of believe this, I don't know, vampire to be, is there any sort of role-playing that you guys would like to do on the way? And if so, go ahead and do it now.
I'll just say that at some point during the voyage, Orin would kind of move off by himself, and Pebble is off hunting. It's nighttime, and so he's off flying through the air, scooping bugs out of the air to eat. And whenever Pebble is gone, Orin doesn't interact much with people, and he kind of goes off on his own towards the front of the ship, and leaning against the rail, he reaches into the leather armor that he wears through the furs and the scraps of leather, and he pulls out what looks like carved bone or white wood that is shaped almost like it's shaped like a tuning fork. It has a handle and then two prongs coming out of the end of it. And as he's leaning, he kind of keeps intermittently hitting this tuning fork against the wood of the reach, and this tone kind of sounds softly through the air. Boo, 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 as he just sits there listening to it as the reach moves through the sky.
Anybody else?
Yeah, so before leaving, Gaharl would have sought out two things. One is a sort of a half cask of a very expensive whiskey that he's never had before, but basically he's searched around and tasted a few here and there in the market, and he found one he really liked, and so he got a half cask, and so he is in his bunk, and he has a small cup, say a shot or so of this foreign whiskey, and he has a Dragonborn's pipe. And if you've ever seen one, you don't actually light it. They don't have to. It's made of stone, and they can be many different shapes. His is short and stout, and he packs it with some of the Endergreen Reserve. And it's almost like whistling, as far as it's a little difficult to get the hang of, but once you do, it's very easy. Smoking for a Dragonborn, because they can create fire, he's able to light the tobacco and inhale it. And he's sitting in his bunk, smoking this Endergreen Reserve, and he is reading a cheesy sort of Aesop's fables about Tritherion that he found, almost for children. And it's the kind of thing where he's sort of assuming many people feel that these hold very much weight, but these are sort of cheesier, dumbed down versions. But it was the only book on Tritherion he could find, and he's thumbing through it as he drinks the night away.
Nimriia, meanwhile, is back in her lab with her door wide open so as to not totally seclude herself from everyone. Yet, as they hit the very occasional turbulence, it is very clear when the glass breaks on the floor of her precious beakers, and the occasional curse just erupting from her room, or from the lab, as she scuttles in and out trying to find anything to mop up various elixirs or to, of course, clean up all the glass.
Awesome.
And so Quint would actually, he would look to the different travelers, and he would look to Gaharl, who looked very relaxed, and then he would look to Nimriia, who looked very content, which isn't very common. And then he would look to Orin, who would still be alone, and kind of look back and forth to the three of them, almost trying to decide which person he was going to talk to. And then what he would do is he would probably go to approach Gaharl, kind of take 2 steps, immediately turn fully around, and then walk as though he had found his nerve over to Orin. And so what he would do is he would say, I know you can't talk without the bird, but does the bird immediately know what you're thinking too?
And Orin will kind of smile and nod. And you see him kind of, this tuning fork that he's been hitting against the railing of the ship, he kind of tucks that away and leans back, looking at you.
So he would say, look, he would point to Gaharl. His heart's too big. And then he would point to Nimriia. He would say, her heart's in an odd shape. I think yours is right in the middle. The thing is, you've probably seen that there's a special kind of thing that happens when I'm around blood. And I want you to understand, I'm not afraid to fight the vampire. I'm afraid that when it comes time, I won't want to fight the vampire. I'm not evil, understand. But I'm not entirely all good either. There are things in life that are dark, and there are things in life that are light. And I think that all of us in some way are somewhere right in the middle. I just need somebody to make sure I stay light. And if I don't, you know what you need to do.
And while you're talking, Orin is kind of halfway between this, the hell are you talking about look, and this kind of like dawning, and by the end of your talking to him, he kind of has this look on his face of just understanding, and he simply stands and he reaches up, because he's significantly shorter than you, he reaches up and he just pats you on the chest where your heart is, just, and just gives you a thumbs up, and then like sits back down and kind of just keeps looking out at the sky, waiting for Pebble to get back from hunting.
Right, and so Quint would kind of turn to walk away, and he'd turn back and he'd go, so to be clear, try and save me first. Right. That's all I'm saying. Just do your best. All right. And then he just kind of walks away.
And Orin kind of gets out some scraps of paper and a quill, and he, like, as you're saying, like, try to save me first, he's like writing it down, and he gives you a thumbs up again, like, right, try to save you first. Okay. And he puts it back.
And as the ship continues toward the edge of the Underwood, toward Maricor, you all hear a now familiar sound. Bing, 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 bing. And Orin takes a special surprise to this as his tuning fork begins becoming off pitch, And Orin, as this is happening, you feel woozy. You feel like if someone could take all of the moisture out of your body, all of the magic out of your body, and just remove it. That's how you feel. And you slowly begin to kind of slump slightly. And the people around you take notice, especially Quintrek, who's there. And you notice, Orin, that the Ventigators are looking confused as their magic that usually protrudes from their hands toward these foci to keep the ship up and forward is now not happening. And they keep trying to fix it. But all of a sudden, the ship begins moving down and down towards this slow, then faster and faster and faster decline toward the Anderwood. And Orin, you feel fear, and you feel nausea, and then you feel nothing as everything goes black. And you've had this dream before. And that is where we're going to take our 5-minute break. My wife just got home, so I'm going to give her a kiss. And
ew, gross. Cooties.
Cooties. And so we'll be back in 5 minutes. Thank you very much for tuning in. Stick around. Just 5 minutes. We'll be right back.
Awesome.
All right, with the mic off and the camera off, I better take some time to learn the rules here. Let's see. Oh, yep. Well, this is the 3.5 book. Oh well.
All right. As per usual, thank you everybody for tuning in. A lot of times I have like technical difficulties on my the question and answer app and the video, but and I thought we might have had some earlier. But if not, cool. But I just saw the viewer count just drop to 0 and slowly climb up, and that usually means everyone's kicked out and then they got to start over again. So hopefully that wasn't the case. I had that issue when I was doing my prep session earlier. Speaking of the prep session, you can check that out on the Be a Better Game Master channel. It was an awesome session where we basically we did some world building. We built a city. We built Talonfall. You might have heard the city of Talonfall named in this game. It is to the north. And I'm pretty sure that eventually these players' characters will go there. But yeah, thank you all for tuning in. I've got some questions in the Q&A app, so I'm going to answer some of those real quick. Let's see, That is the sassiest pygmy owl. Yes. Yes, it is. That Pebble is easily one of, if not my favorite character. I love Pebble. How long before a game do I start world building? I start, I've had a map of my world done. I don't know where my drawing is. For a while, basically the continent, but I have not put any cities or anything in there. So not really, I don't do a lot of world building before the game. I usually like to do it as it's happening. Sometimes I'll make a city or something like that and then add that to the big map. But no, I really like it when the players say something like, there's a settlement to the northeast, or something like that, because that's a real cool way to help me with the world building. So, to answer the question, how long before a game do you start world building? It's almost entirely simultaneous. So, and I see that Matt just kind of joined in. So, Matt, just to shoot you the same question, how long before a game do you start world building?
It depends on the game. It depends on the players. It might be that it's something that I'm working on for, a year or a few months. An idea that I develop, or it might be that I come up with something really quick the night before, and we just kind of build it together as we go, which has kind of been the case with the Provokers and a few of my different home games. Like, it just is kind of this living, breathing thing that I get to discover too as a dungeon master. And so I really enjoy the world building process. I enjoy collaborative world building during the campaign even more, I think.
Yeah, cool.
So I think you and I are pretty similar in that respect.
Oh, for sure.
I come up with the basics of the world, like the kind of stuff, and like local stuff. Like, I want them to start somewhere, but I don't try to super flesh out the rest of the world if I don't have to.
For sure. Can we kind of dive in a little bit to kind of like the the river bears and stuff like that for the viewer?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right, cool. I mean, that's a perfect example. Is Dice in the Provokers game is from a city called Talmor, and Matt came to me and was like, all right, Dice is from Talmor. Basically, kind of here's the climate, but I'm not sure what else to do with it. And he's like, what's a cool, I think you asked me what a cool riding animal was, and I think I said, hippos, man, we ride hippos in Talmor.
And I was so tempted to do that, dude.
I'm so glad you didn't, though, because otters is such a, I don't know, I love otters, but...
Yeah, so, you came up with that idea, and then we got to see him in action in my Cloak and Dagger game, where these assassins are riding these giant otters, under cover of night, through the waters, to get to this castle to assassinate this guy. So that, it's just a cool idea.
But that's exactly kind of what you were mentioning, is that you kind of start with something. You want to start with something, and then don't be afraid to ask your players what their characters know, what they think. Even if you don't know it, and that kind of brings you to group. Man, it's all about the group, and I know that's a fallback answer, but
yeah, you got to find what works for your group. If you have a group that wants you to do all the work and wants you to come to the table with a fully fleshed out world, then that's your prerogative. But if you have a group that's up for collaborating a little bit, you can have different levels of collaboration. You know, you can get together session 0 and decide what the world is going to be, or you can have the basics and then have the players fill in the cracks for you, which is, I think I like that. I like that method the best, I think. So, and I've done that with all of the homelands of the Provokers. You know, it's like I asked Tim, you know, hey, let's come up with some Stone Rift stuff together, and Nate helped me with a bunch of Shade Veil stuff, and we've got Bardoth, where Brasswick is from, all fleshed out, and that's like hundreds of miles away. Like, you guys are not even close to it, but I know what Bardoth is all about, you know? So it's
time
cool.
for a one-shot.
Yeah. Busting it up in Bardoth.
Now, a lot of people who are watching wouldn't know this, but if you've been keeping up with the Sur Salin games, the town that Quintrek is from, you know, the fighting town and the kind of the ice boxing rings kind of stuff, you know, I remember Tim saying, all right, we're not going to kind of tell everyone this, but Aeronoth and Nkea are in the same world, you know. And then the next session he comes out and he's like, all right, everybody listening, Aeronoth and Nkea, same world. And he just fucking dropped the bomb, and everyone was like, all right, I guess. But that was kind of cool.
It started with the Durgan thing. I was
super the Durgan thing
character, and I was like, oh, all the way to Sur Salin. I would cross the ocean to Sur Salin. And then I was like, oh, I just did that.
No,
Tim dropped a bomb, man.
I was like, boom! Retcon that!
You dropped a bomb on me, baby.
But
I love that.
Now it's cool, and it's funny because I shared the link with everybody in the game, but Barker, you're talking about the schism, and I'm like, oh, that's dope. And I go over to the Aeronoth wiki, and I'm like, the schism is an event that happened on the world of Arbitron. Like,
I saw that.
Canon, putting it in Aeronoth.
Yeah.
Got him.
Got him.
Will we have a Sur Salin / Provokers crossover? Is that even a possibility? I'll tell you what, David Gaunt.
Uh-oh.
I think we lost it.
I'll tell you what, David Gaunt.
I'll tell you what, David Gaunt.
I'll tell you what. What's the guy's name?
And then Superman. And you have to roll really high.
Skeletor.
And then that's when you get the magic.
Black powder weapons.
Flying machine.
Lex Luthor.
Beyond Thunderdome.
Now we're just.
Damn it! I don't know where Barker went. I think he.
Well, I think he dropped and then died because there's
nobody on the screen.
Oh,
Barker is dead. Long live Barker.
That's canon.
Oh, there he is. Oh, geez,
there
he
is.
wants to reset his internet.
Oh yeah.
Oh, hello everybody.
So Barker, you said, "I'll tell you what, David," and then it cut, and we were like, "What's he gonna say?"
Oh my God! I thought, hold on, baby, we're back. You should probably stay off the Wi-Fi though. It's all good. I love you.
Oh, New Mexico.
That was the best because I was talking.
But you can't use the internet tonight.
No, we're talking to our nephew Connor wants to use the treadmill, and our treadmill is like a freaking like
Empowered
NSA beacon. You know, yeah, it's like you can like look up Serbia and walk on the roads in Serbia, and like, oh my God.
Geez.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. But yeah. Anyway, so what happened? I was talking to David.
Yeah.
Right. And then all of a sudden, all of you stopped moving, and I was like, yeah. So, oh fuck. Like, that's really...
Connor was walking in Serbia.
Oh man.
Are you saying, well, we have a Sur Salin Provokers crossover, and what I was saying is, when we reach that point when we seriously need to jump the shark.
Yeah.
Yes, we'll do it then. Until then, we'll keep them separate, probably.
The thing is that we came up with the idea of the Bleak, this magical storm that separates the continents, as a way so that we don't feel like, well, if they're on the same planet, then why this and why that? And Sur Salin has airships. Why doesn't Aeronoth have airships and stuff like that? And so I think to do a crossover thing, we'd have to force it. Like Barker said, we'd totally be jumping the shark. It would be awesome, but we'd be jumping the shark. So
yeah.
So I want to say to Derek Wise that I'm a fan of his cat because it looks at the computer every time that I talk, but not when you guys do. So.
Oh.
I mean, that's it, right? That's celebrity status to me.
That is.
Nice.
Somebody's cat just loves you. What you drinking, Barker?
White wine.
White wine, shrimp, and white wine.
Shrimp, white wine. Can I say?
Actually, I'm a multi-drinker, so I have like a few drinks in front of me. I have a cup of coffee.
No. You can't invent a new word for alcoholic.
I have a cup of coffee.
Can't do that.
I'm a multi-drinker.
Multi-drink. I'm thinking the announcer from Unreal Tournament. Multi-drinker.
I don't even want to finish my sentence now.
No, what do you got? What do you got, Barker? What all you got laid out in front of you?
I have coffee, white wine, and this is gonna sound really bad right now, but I have moonshine.
Yeah, I made it work.
That's called empirical evidence. You switch them all around at once, and it's like multi-combo. Ultra combo.
Oh, God.
I'm drinking a little Hanson's creamy root beer.
Ooh, sexy.
With real cane sugar.
Bop, dop, dop, doo-wop. Yeah.
James he bought Diet Mountain Dew, and he hates it.
I tried it out. I'm not a big
Dude, Diet Mountain Dew is gross. It is the grossest of the diet sodas.
It's the worst.
Right.
Did you guys not get my Hanson
It
joke?
is.
I got it. I just chose not to acknowledge it.
Yeah, I think
okay.
we all
Alright.
played that game.
Yeah, no, that joke lasted exactly one mbop.
Fuck you.
That's actually the real way to use it.
Yeah.
I feel like drinking Diet Mountain Dew during D&D is like drinking O'Doul's at a frat party. I feel wrong, but I don't want it to go to waste.
Yeah, I have a Pepsi Max that actually has more caffeine than the Diet Mountain Dew. I like
know, 10 times the flavor.
I just hate that Mountain Dew feels the need to abbreviate the word mountain
I
now.
was thinking that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man. So, Cassie?
I believe she is currently getting back.
It's
Somebody
okay.
else said it was lagging pretty bad, and McTelmer, I think we were just screwing with you guys. That was our bad.
Yeah, actually.
You guys might see this, but during my prep session that I had last week, the whole thing kind of shut down, and if you're watching the Q&A feed, I started repeating myself, it was just the same, it was like a record that just started bouncing.
Oh my gosh.
And so I went from so many viewers, which was awesome, thank you, to 2 viewers. And everyone kind of found their way back. And the same thing happened during this game. So if that occurred, I apologize. But, if there was only a way for this to be saved online permanently. Oh, yeah, YouTube. Thank you. Check it out.
Yeah, we were messing with people and pretending that we were all lagging really bad, Barker. So I think people were like, "Oh no, the feed's
really?
dropping. They're all lagging," because we were like, "I get,
We started talking about the Provoker's Sur Salin crossover and just started saying more and more ridiculous things out of context while lagging.
People probably assumed that was me really talking from, just historically.
Yeah, they're like, "Yeah, right, that's Tim. Yeah, that's how he sounds."
Oh,
Yeah, no,
God,
that's
thank
real.
goodness Tim's back.
It's real.
Awesome.
It led to credibility.
Okay. You guys want to play some D&D?
Sure.
Oh,
Third edition.
We're here.
you so mean, Mateo.
I
You so
know.
mean.
I'm feeling feisty today. I need to go down for a nap. I'm fussy, man. I'm super colicky right now. I need a nap.
No more root beer for you, Matthew.
No, I'm getting
Time to bed.
this root beer.
But before we go, I just want to share a photo. Before we start up the game again, I want to share a photo. Earlier, when we were starting it up, I believe it was Tim and James and Cassie were having internet issues, and they totally lagged out. And they both had the funniest pictures frozen in their little slots. And Matt quick took a screenshot, and I'm gonna share that with everybody because it's the best thing ever.
That's a good idea.
All right.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh man, you gotta blow it up, Barker.
Did I not? Hold on, let me, hold on. I gotta present it to everybody. That's the picture, and I'll make it bigger. I'll try to make it bigger.
Why were we doing that, Cassie? Were we holding our breath?
I have no idea.
You guys are having a breath. You guys are seeing how long you can hold your breath.
Well, it's finding internet. I was like, hey guys, hold your breath. I gotta reset the internet. Oh, good lord.
From where I'm looking, it looks like it says Lihap Terrars. I'm like, just, hello, I am.
That is so awesome.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Anyway,
I'm so glad you got that.
You should make that.
yeah, we just had. I should. That'll be kind of the thumbnail for all my videos from now on. It's Tim.
I'm so fine with that.
Memorable events of Sur Salin. Jesus.
Everyone remember La Hop Terrors?
I had tried to hold my breath for 10 minutes.
Yeah, no kidding. Okay, so I just turned my video feed off to save bandwidth, as per usual. But you guys want to, I don't know, play some Dungeons and Dragons or whatever?
Yeah, dude.
Okay.
Please? Let's do it.
Please.
Please.
Okay, cool. All right. So,
Orin, you've had this dream before. Your arms and hands are numb. You pull them out from the snow as usual. And again, just like the last time, you are permitted to turn around as the crimson wood scans around you. Beautiful and stark against the white of the tundra. And there you see it. As you saw it before, you remember seeing the man with the shoulder-length dark hair building the hut with a hammer. But now you see it, and it is fully built. It is Randall's hut, albeit far earlier in a time period. And the sound that you hear from it can only be distinguished as a woman screaming. So for the first time, Orin, I will ask you, what do you do?
At first, I don't react, expecting the dream to end as it always does. But then I look down at my hands, and I look at the hut, and I realize I'm lucid, and I meow like a cat. No, I immediately break into a run towards the hut, and I reach to my belt for looking for my sickle or my dagger, seeing if they're there.
What you find is your tuning fork.
And being the only thing I can find, I grab the tuning fork as I'm charging towards the hut.
And you see just trees kind of moving past you quickly, as if fast forward, and a branch slices you across the cheek, and you're subtly cut across your right cheek, and you run through into this clearing where the hut is, and you pass through many, many stones and wooden blocks with carved runes on them. You pass through them, no problem, up to the window of this hut. A window that you specifically remember had been boarded up. When you peer through it, which you kind of have to stand on this pile of wood, chopped wood, all white. The hut is white. Everything is made from the white trunks of these trees in the Anderwood, which looks far less menacing than it did when you were not dreaming. And you peer through the window, and you see the woman who's screaming, who's yelling, because she is obviously in labor. You see a man next to her with shoulder-length dark hair, and across from him, across the woman, a man with a hooded kind of cloak, and it's over his face. But you do hear him say,
"You cannot do this. This is unnatural. It's unnecessary."
And the man you hear say, "No, I have to. I have to. And he kind of looks at her, and what you see is this pale purple skin over her. Kind of, it almost looks like she's a corpse. And he has that same coloring over his right arm and chest. And the voice of the older man, as it would seem, kind of trails off as he says,
"Just look at yourself. Look at her. Look what you're doing to... Oh, my goodness. It's working. But it's still unnatural. You're calling upon the power of the Shadowfell. But it's working."
And you see this pale color kind of disappear from her. And the man says, "Her disease, it's fading. It's fading. She's going to live." And all of a sudden you hear a from behind you. And the man with the shoulder-length hair looks to the older man in the cloak and the hood and says, You gave them the rod of 7 parts." And he says, "Of course I did. Of course I did." And all of a sudden, like a nuclear explosion, just this whole thing just spreads throughout the hut and outside this clearing, and just snow and tundra just blasts everywhere. And all of a sudden, there's silence. And then the screaming begins again as the purple coloring begins to cover her once more. And then she stops screaming. And you hear the man's voice, "No. No. And one leaf from the crimson wood falls, followed by another, followed by another and another and another and another, and all the leaves in the forest fall around you. And if just for a moment, if just for one moment, the man with the shoulder-length dark hair looks out the window, and it's almost like he sees you, Orin.
And as his eyes find me, I speak as I can't in the material plane. I say, "Damn it, cat!"
I snorted moonshine. That was the worst thing of all time.
Catch the break.
This is a big moment, cat.
Go ahead.
As his eyes fall upon me, I say, "I need to wake up. I need to wake up. It's time for me to wake up now."
And
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up.
And you do. And before we continue, I just want to point out that I had that ready, and everyone watching is going to think we totally staged that shit. That's beautiful.
Awesome.
Anyway, okay, so you do wake up, and the wind is brushing through your hair. And the same can be said for everyone. You all notice that the ship is going down. So I'm just going to ask the famous DM question that I don't know the answer to. Hey guys, what are you gonna do?
The first thing I do when I wake up is I look for the tuning fork.
It's not there.
And my breath is coming heavy and labored, and I'm looking and I see that we're dropping, and so I just start looking around looking for my friends.
Nimriia comes out rushing, of course, to the deck as the ship starts to fall. A clatter following her, as from her room everything just crashes to the floor as the ship is becoming practically vertical as it dive bombs. Clinging to the railings, she calls, "I might be able to slow it, but I'm gonna need help. Can we get the other guys go? The what?
The ventigator.
The ventigators going. I could cast a wind wall, but there's no way it's going to just stop. And even then, we gotta be closer to the ground."
And as you say that, Nimriia, you see Orin kind of looks at you, and he's looking for Pebble. He desperately wants to say something, but he sort of gets this panicked look on his face as he realizes that his magic isn't working and he can't sense Pebble anymore. And he just gets even more panicked looking than he was before, and just looks at you, just not knowing what to do.
Quint would definitely say, I think I can help. And so, Cassie, I'm not sure how your spell works, but one of the things that I can do is cast, basically, well, not cast, but I can give you bardic inspiration. So, depending on how the mechanic works, I can give you a d6 to either, it's either an ability check, an attack roll, or a saving throw, or, because of my Bardic College, I can also give it to you as something to do with your armor class or an attack roll. So would that help in this situation metagame? Because Quint would try to help you if you need to do that with an ability check or an attack roll or anything like that.
Well, if the Ventigators can't actually do their magic, I probably can't either. At least on the ship? Like, can I affect people individually or no?
I would say that if you, I would say that anybody who's not Orin would probably not quite know. Except for Quint, you'd probably feel somewhat empty, like I mean, not terribly, but like something has been taken out of you.
Okay.
Also, question, is Bardic Inspiration magical, or is that just kind of like, hello, you want to charge that army, be inspired, da 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 da.
The description basically says it's stirring words of music. I assume that it is through your skill, and there's some magic to it in some cases.
Yeah, I'm fairly certain it's magical in nature.
Yeah, it's magical in nature. They don't spell out exactly how, but I would imagine that it's through that.
Yeah.
Because of the situation, I will say that, you know, that probably will be something that you can use without an obstacle.
Okay. So basically, Cassie, you would, if you are going to try to cast the wind spell that you were thinking of, if it requires any kind of, like I said, an ability check or an attack roll, you get 1d6 that you can add to that. You can have one of those bardic inspiration die at a time. You basically have oh, go ahead.
Well, technically this is an attack, but it creates a 50-foot long wall going at least, was it 15 feet high? But we're already going down really fast, so rather than creating a lot of bludgeoning damage, would it be negated by the fact, well, just to kind of give a cushioning if she was to use it to try and get us off the ship, so we just don't smack down with it, kind of thing.
Yeah, whatever you want to try.
Okay.
I would like to point out that
If it's possible.
the ship is falling and the forest is coming up pretty quickly.
Okay. So, just motioning for anyone to get as close as possible, and shouting over the screaming of the wind. She looks quickly to Quint with a nod, and immediately her eyes, in this case, start to glow a soft, like baby blue color, as her hands seem to dig up as if coming up from the ground. And taking a step forward into a lunge, she literally just heaves it up. And as the ground is just, the ship is starting to just splinter under our feet as the wind rises up, just seeming to push us a little bit out of the way, but also sort of providing something of a cushion, but it's not by any means a soft landing as we are hurled off the ship and into the trees and bushes.
Oh, that's amazing.
Outside.
The crimson wood beneath you, it's almost, it's so thick because of this magical spreading that it's been doing that it's just intertwined just extremely firmly, and the ship just kind of skids sideways upon the leaves, and branches fly everywhere, and everywhere there's a leaf that flies off, it immediately turns to dust, as if there's some sort of magical energy holding these leaves together, like when Orin plucked one from a tree and it just disintegrated. You have this disintegrating just powder kind of skidding underneath the ship as the ship becomes embedded into the leaves, and you begin to hear a noise. And in the midst of that noise, you hear from underneath you on what you can perceive as the forest floor, coming up in front of you, and then it zooms behind you as you are red shifted past it. Doppler effect, kind of like goes behind, and then and the ship is shoved into these trees, and then all of a sudden it stops, and then as you're all kind of hanging on, and it kind of tips over to the other side like a short, and you guys tell me whether or not you hold on or fall off to the forest floor or whatever.
Orin is so disoriented and so just caught off guard by the fact that he doesn't feel his magic anymore and that he doesn't sense Pebble. He would just kind of have gotten behind the wind wall almost in a zombie-like state, and as the ship touched down, he would just go hurtling off the deck, kind of rolling to the ground below.
And you were all pretty sure that it was this wind wall, which, when it was cast, it looked almost defective a little bit, like the magic wasn't working at its full potential, but it is entirely possible that this is what saved the ship and your lives. Well, the ship for the most part. What happens to the rest of you?
As the ship comes down, and after just casting the wall, feeling the wood beneath my feet trembling and just generating as we crash into the forest, I also go flying off into a tree, the leaves disintegrating under me, and I manage just to catch a branch before really, hurtling down too far. But I would say that, I'm within the vicinity, but nearly maybe 30 feet away. I got tossed pretty good.
Okay, all right. So I want you to do me a favor. and roll me 30 feet. I want you to roll me 3d6.
Me as well, Barker?
Yes.
Okay. Oh,
rolling that witch bolt damage, huh, buddy?
Oh.
Oh no.
I just rolled 3 6s, bro.
Oh, oh my god. What's your HP, Orin?
38. I'm good.
Oh, okay.
I got a 14.
Okay, that's how much damage you take from the fall, and you can describe to me what happens. Same goes with Gaharl and Quinrek.
Falling down off the ship and into the leaves, I feel branches just smashing into my back. And with a groan, I managed to hold on to the last one, but looking down, I notice that I'm still high up enough that there's no limbs that could really, that I could get on. I just let myself drop, and hoping to roll at the bottom, my legs just crumple under me, and I kind of duck and roll, and just lay there for a moment while the fall just knocked the wind out of me pretty good, and I could feel that my spine or some ribs are just bruised, but thankfully, not too bad.
Awesome.
I go sort of tumbling off the ship as it touches down and just kind of flip through the air end over end, and I hit the side of a tree like a doll. Just my body just kind of splays across it, and I slide down the bark and come to rest in a heap down below. And I kind of try to get myself up right away, but I feel broken ribs, and I feel a kink in my arm as I try to lift myself up, and so I just kind of slump back down to the ground, my mouth open in just a silent groan of pain.
Nice. Gaharl.
So, as this started happening, Gaharl would have run immediately, upon seeing the Ventigators panic, he would have run immediately to begin gathering his things, and while he was throwing everything in a bag and sort of slinging everything over is when we begin to hit. And I imagine, like a car accident when someone's not wearing a seatbelt, he is thrown through the wall, so he just splinters right through. He basically didn't see really what was going on, knew that they were going, knew it was going down. His instincts kicked in. He wanted to, make sure that he was ready for being thrown into the forest. He definitely knew that was the next thing to come. And so he's gathering his things, and he's thrown from the ship through the wall, and he actually lands fairly softly on the canopy, and actually only took a few damage. And then as his weight begins to sort of almost catch up with itself, he very ungracefully falls the rest of the way to the forest floor, almost like a cartoon.
Strangely enough, actually, Gaharl, you land next to Orin, who's kind of trying to peel himself off the floor. Quintrek.
So I don't want to get too metagamey, but I'm made to understand that I basically don't feel the magic that I would normally have. Is that right?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. So I want to take it back to the inspirational part of back when Nimriia was first. I know there was no role involved, but I would look to her and I would freak out. In other words, I would probably try to draw from that well within myself, and I would not be able to do so. And that would kind of freak me out. So I think that while I was trying to inspire her, I would fail. In fact, I might even have done the opposite. So whereas I have this beginning of like getting ready to say something probably moving or powerful, or even draw from some of the small bit of infernal I know, I would imagine I would just kind of stammer and look afraid. And then as the ship was falling, I would just be looking and searching and looking and searching, and I would grab the first thing that I could find out of my pack, and it would be the sword. And I'd be holding the sword, and immediately, in a panic, almost like someone trying to gasp for air, I would try to induce something onto myself. I would slide the sword out of its scabbard, and
Can I just tell you really quick that when you slide the sword out of its scabbard, it sounds out of tune.
Really? So
Yep.
like, okay. So when I do that, I try to rake the back of my own hand against the blade, causing myself to bleed, and sort of pitifully almost rub the blood on my face and inhale, and nothing happens. And so I get more afraid. And so I just take in a deep breath, and that's when I hit. And I imagine that after I would sort of come to, the first thing I would look for is the sword, and I'd be reaching around and I'd be looking, and that's what I'd be doing, is just not knowing what's wrong with me, probably mangled in a couple of different ways. I would be sheepishly crawling around looking for the sword that I probably lost at this point.
Awesome. And you actually roll a perception check. Actually, I would have you roll a dexterity check. That's what I would have you roll to see how.
Oh. 7.
Your hands and wrists are coated in mud and snow and just wetness as you're searching for this sword, digging through the dirt. The dirt gets underneath your fingernails so deep that you can feel it, but you do not find your trusted blade. But you still hear the sound. And specifically, Gaharl and Orin, who kind of pick themselves up, look, and you see something. And I'm going to pull something up. You see kind of a... I would try to imagine it as a tornado. Let's open this puppy up. Yes. Coming out of the ground, and it's spinning. I want you to imagine it spinning.
Oh, wow.
And I want you to imagine it spinning like a vortex and emerging from this massive, what can unmistakably be described as a portal. And outside of it is this cloaked figure in a gray-brown, dirty, disgusting, muddy cloak, pointing some sort of wand at it, and like doing enchantments and drawing upon magic to. It's almost like he's doing combat with it.
Does this look like the same robed guy that I saw in my vision?
You know what? Yes, the robes are muddier, the robes are dirty, but it's the sound that confirms it for you. The and in his hand you see that it's not a wand. That's your tuning fork.
I start pulling myself through the mud and the snow, and I'm reaching my hand out to this guy, and my mouth is open. I'm trying to yell at him, but my voice doesn't work here in the material plane. And Gaharl, who's nearby me, would just see my kind of huddled shape just pull itself through the mud away from him and towards this guy, towards this vortex, towards this portal, and just reaching my hand out with my mouth open in a silent scream.
I think
awesome.
That having taken not very much damage, I took 9 points of damage, which I guess doesn't seem much in the grand scheme of things. I feel like I would do my best. I would want to help him, but I would feel confused at what I needed to do. So I would try and get up, and my first instinct would be to charge something, but the idea being that I'm not sure exactly what to do. So Gaharl gets up and he's ready, and he looks to Orin, and he looks, and he has no idea what to do. but he wants to help so badly.
Mm-hmm. Quint Rec and Nimriia, you see this as well. And Nimriia, I'd say you were the first to see it after these two. You see Gaharl and Orin kind of struggling to get up and kind of shaking their minds clear. You find that your mind actually is strangely clear, enough to realize that you've seen something. You actually see something strange. You see this cloaked figure draw upon magic. It's almost like the magic is sucked into this tuning fork that's held in his hand, and he swings it like a baseball bat. But instead of it doesn't shoot, what you might expect. It fires a season worth of flora evolution at this portal, and instead of fire or ice, you see plant life blast and spread across this portal as plants just sprout out of the ground and bloom and then die in a single split second, trying to cover the portal, this obvious portal of the shadow in this Feywild, this Fey magic. And just plant life is spewed across this portal, and you see that's what he's doing. And as he draws upon this magic inside this tuning fork, you feel again that some magic is sucked out of you, as if he's sucking the magic out of everything he can get his hands on to defeat this thing.
She lays there for a moment, now on her stomach and leaning up on her elbows, gazing partly a little terrified, but also amazed at the sight of all of this flora and fauna. Is it covering up the portal, more or less, or just blocking it out?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, actually. It's interesting, in the places where it's covering it up, you actually see that it looks like another portal might be opening up over it, covering it up, different type, one to the Feywild.
She gets up feeling this gradual drain on her own magic, and instead approaches the figure, and knowing that the portals can be a problem and, lead to all sorts of things going into it, she willingly touches the man's cloak, and essentially lets her magic be more fully drained, so the flora and fauna just starts to grow and go crazy over it, trying to hide it with even more vigor.
Nice. All right, cool. So you see this cloaked figure kind of turn around and look at you, and roll perception.
Okay. You'll find my dice. My paper stopped it. Can I do it again?
Well, do you have inspiration? You probably have an inspiration.
Yeah. I'm sorry, what do I do with the inspiration? Perception.
If you'd like to use inspiration, you can roll with advantage, which means you get to roll again.
Okay, yeah, doing that.
Alright, you gotta roll it on the table.
I'm trying. I'm sorry. Okay, that's a lot. That's much better. Okay, so I got a natural 18 with perception. That is 24.
Through the hood, you see emblazoned gold eyes and red scales and sharp front teeth. And it looks as innocently surprised as you might expect a dragonborn to look.
Oh, let's go.
And he says,
Your magic, please, as soon as you can.
You can use it. And she, grasping onto his robe and then to his shoulder, basically she just closes her eyes and focus and lets it just all kind of flow into him as best she can, never having done this before. But she feels utterly drained and eventually just falls onto her knees, just very lightly and weakly holding onto his cloak, just as if gasping for breath.
Awesome. Roll an Arcana check with advantage, so you'd roll twice.
Okay. 19.
19. Is that okay?
Okay, 22.
All right, awesome. Anyone who's watching can see this. It's almost like when you look at an asphalt street in the summertime, this heat just rising up. You see it actually emerge from Nimriia and enter into this dragonborn who's cloaked, and his hood just gets knocked back, and he is definitely a dragonborn, and he turns around and again just swipes this tuning fork at the portal, and it just kind of closes up, and from it emerges a small, very small puddle. Looks like a puddle, but it's a portal to the Feywild. And from that, from that blast, and from it you hear, and then the sound just settles like a, and it fades away, and he kind of collapses to his knees and just sits there.
Looking to the Dragonborn, her eyes exhausted, dark circles already developing under them. Just, what was that you were fighting? That I've never seen a portal like that.
He turns to you looking surprised. Not that you haven't seen a portal like that, but he says, "Have you ever seen a portal at all?" Then he just reveals this ancient dragonborn face. And the scales on which are not what you saw before. They're actually many-colored. He has brass ones sporadically throughout, and what look to be gold and red and black and blue and silver around, but they're all faded, like an old tapestry that has been in the closet for 30 years, unused. And anyway, so he looks to you quizzically, like, "Wait, you've seen any portal?"
Oh, I've seen one like that little puddle thing. But that wasn't too long ago.
He kind of continues to stare at you. "I don't see many others in the woods, to be honest. Excuse me for a moment." And he goes back to the portal and he checks it. And the puddle by now has closed up. And he's kind of shoving what looks to be a cane, kind of a walking stick, into the ground to make sure that there's no portal there. And he's kind of walking around, stabbing into the ground. And then all of a sudden he sees Gaharl and Orin walking towards him. And he stops. And he says, "Do my eyes deceive me? Or is that Gaharl Cardelay?"
Gaharl would almost wince at the name. I don't know that his companions know actually what clan he was of, if they had ever heard of it at all. But I basically would almost sheepishly tell him yes, and if possible, after the shards formed, the shards of Cardelay formed, Gaharl did travel a lot, and I was wondering if I could make maybe a history check, or basically a check to try and remember anything I'd ever heard about a dragonborn with many colored scales.
Say that last part again. I'm sorry, you cut out for me.
I wanted to make a check to see if I had ever heard anything about a dragonborn with many colored scales.
Oh God. Okay, cool. Yeah, roll any intelligence-based check, and tell me which check you used.
I'm gonna go history, and I rolled the natural 1. So I think that the ship wreck has just wiped my memory entirely.
Yeah. You know for a fact he's not there in front of you. This isn't real. I've had this dream before.
Exactly. I wake up from a dream. There we go.
No, you've never seen anything like this.
So then I do tell him yes, but I basically I'm at a loss for words. But instead of asking his origins, I ask if he's okay. I say, sort of before we get to the general, what was that? I ask, is there anything I can do for you?
And you ask, is there anything I can do for you? Are you okay? And you see that a few of his scales are kind of laying upon the ground. He's taken kind of a wound trying to fight this thing back. And he says, well, of course, I may not have been before, but how godly. I am okay now. And he sees Quintrek kind of walk up with blood smeared all over his face. Oh, war paint! I've not seen that in quite some time. Who are you?
Just a quick question. Would I have found that sword yet or no?
Not yet, but are you still kind of looking around for it?
That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking possibly, like, I would almost imagine the word that popped into my head was sniveling, like frantic, like basically just like with this cold, that sweat that comes in the snow that you hate because it's freezing cold but you're sweating.
Yeah.
That and just kind of wiping mud and blood and just, almost shaking, just like I was stay calm.
Okay.
And this isn't because I've lost a sword specifically. That is the focus of my my nervous breakdown, but the nervous breakdown is coming from the fact that I am powerless at this point. Mm-hmm. And without the power that I held, I'm made of glass, and I know that. And so it's more of a sniveling fear, digging through the mud, almost not realizing exactly what's going on because I'm having a minor breakdown of sorts.
Gotcha. I need you to roll me a dexterity check with disadvantage, and it's imperative that you roll high.
Oh.
That's not something you want to hear from the Dungeon Master. It's imperative that you roll high.
All right, well, the highest roll of the two was a 10.
Total?
Total. The other one was a 17 unmodified. The other one was much, much lower.
I'm sorry, my friend.
And he kind of looks at you, kind of sniveling and scobbling and kind of looking around the area.
What is it you're looking for?
The mist. I'm looking for the mist. It's just... No. I'm looking for a sword. Looking. The blood. I need the copper mist, damn it!
And he kind of stands back.
A copper mist? The sword? I don't know if this helps, but I did see some sort of item. I couldn't see it. It was very quick. Enter into the portal to the Shadowfell before I closed it.
And you would just see Quint's shoulders sort of drop, and he would slump, just defeated, just catatonic.
Wait.
And he kind of comes up to you and kneels before you and kind of tries to help you up, kind of like someone who would help someone who had fallen over, but you fell over too soon. So he kind of digs his hand between you and the ground and kind of lifts you up. No, hold your power, sir. Come to. And he snaps his fingers in front of your face, and he smacks you in the face. Come to. Look at me in the eyes.
And Quint would, and you would see that the white part of his pupil is just almost like a dull gray. And he does. He listens. He looks, and it's just because he has nothing else to do. He doesn't understand what else to do other than just go through the motions here at this point.
He looks at you in the face, and he looks at your eyes specifically, and he says, "Copper mist. I see." And he collects himself, and he looks at the ground, and he draws a circle in the dirt with his hand, and he says, as everyone kind of begins to gather towards him, "Listen, your weapon is your focus, but it is not you." And he stands up, and he looks at Gaharl, and he says, "And you!" And he shoves his pointed, nailed finger directly into your armor and kind of shoves you back about 6 inches. You let everyone else forget who you are, but don't you dare forget who you are yourself, Cardelay." And he actually begins to storm off, kind of like in the Into the Woods kind of thing, like just footprints in the mud. And he walks away, and then he stops halfway, and he turns around and says, "Well, follow me."
Nimriia just watches him kind of seemingly storm off, and for a moment she gives him the most pissed off look at this ungrateful fellow or something, especially at least since she's utterly exhausted and just tries to haul herself to her feet.
Mm-hmm.
Can we have your name at least before we follow a strange dragonborn into the woods?
He stops.
Further?
Yeah, he stops and he looks to you and says, "Name, I have no name anymore." And he looks at Gaharl and says, "You won't remember this. I had only seen you when you were a small child, but I would recognize you from anywhere. I am number 8. Number 8 of the Octaves, at your service." And he continues kind of walking away, this time at a nicer pace.
So Gaharl would definitely have...
Do you guys hear my nephew and nieces right now?
Yeah.
Hold on for 1 second.
They're on that Serbian treadmill.
2-minute break.
They're running on the Afghanistan treadmill.
Oh, Tim, you lost the katana, not your sword.
Yeah, that's what I was when I was pulling it out. I was gonna explain it, but then when he said it was, I never. Unless it's cooler that I lost my sword.
No, either way kind of sucks, dude.
It does.
I know. So, but intentionally, I drew the katana to cut myself because I just. So yeah, so Barker, I will make this. Oh, I don't know if you can hear us yet.
I can hear you.
Oh, I'll make this a call that we can make together. But when I was first drawing the sword in the ship, before I ever lost it, it was the katana, not Kingrin. So when I fell, I lost the katana.
Yes. Well,
okay.
Sure. Well, you lost both. You're not sure which one went through the Shadowfell.
Oh, there you go. There's the deal.
So much better.
You're down 2 swords, my friend. You lost your pants too while we're at it. Let's just have
By the way,
everything.
You know your wallet? You remember that?
I had heart boxers on. I'm like,
dude, I had one more stamp to go on my Taco Del Mar card towards a free burrito. That went in there too.
I think it might be safe to say though that Quintrek does. I don't know. You might be unsure. You might. Okay, hold on. You might be afraid that it was Caingrin that went into the portal.
All right.
Maybe. You roleplay whatever you want, but
no,
you're down 2 swords.
I think both are not on my person, and I don't know which is which. I don't know where is where.
Okay, and you're continuing to look, right?
I would follow Ish. Like basically, if number 8 kind of grabbed me up, basically told me, hey, pick yourself up, dust off, and everyone else started kind of going off, I feel like I would just not know what to do or how to respond, and I would follow almost on autopilot.
Okay.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, like, during this whole thing, Orin kind of slumps to the forest floor where that puddle was, that portal to the Feywild, and he's just sort of moving leaves and mud aside, just hoping beyond hope that maybe the portal just got covered up. And he starts kind of, with his finger, kind of drawing the shape of the puddle that was there. And he kind of looks up when he hears that Quint lost his blades. And when number 8 introduces himself and asks everyone to follow, Orin kind of picks himself up and kind of trots up to number 8 and pokes him hard in the back.
Hey. And he turns around and looks and then kind of looks down. Yes. Yes?
And Orin just holds his hand out expectantly and points to it.
And he gets a good look at your face, Orin. And he kind of... His eyes widen, revealing whites around his pupils that you wouldn't have seen before in a Dragonborn. And he kind of takes a step back. You. And he draws the tuning fork from his pocket, and you can see that the tuning fork now is rusted and old and used far more than it was when you had it. And he says, "This is yours."
And Orin kind of gets this look on his face as he takes it back, like, "What'd you do to it?" Like, dude, like, returned a video game I lent him and the disc is all scratched up. Like, I'm just like looking down at the fork and looking back up at him, just incredulous.
And he drops to one knee so that he's face to face with you. And he says, and he puts his hand on your shoulder. And for a moment he kind of falls over, but he corrects himself and kind of looks around at your companions and says, "You. I saw you many years ago. And you'd..." He takes a deep breath and says, "You are number 1. And, I don't know. If you guys are cool, I'm cool with stopping it right now, unless you guys want to keep going.
What? What's happening? James, that's the perfect #thisbitch.com. Dude, what?
Yeah, all right. We'll cut it there.
I gotta go take a walk.
I just lost my favorite thing in the whole world. Oh man. Oh, yeah, this is big.
Dude.
I
What?
told you I was going to run the game until the very end, and then I was going to pass it.
Yeah, you just passed it, dude. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, you know what? I actually think that's a good place to stop it.
Yeah.
I didn't think so until that point, and it was like, you know what? This is where we'll put it to a rest. I'm gonna grab my chair.
Oh.
I'm gonna suspensefully grab my chair.
Oh god. Yeah, right. How about next time on the Winds of
Next time on the Winds of Sur Salin. Does Quintrek find his sword? I don't know. Do you know? Does he know? Does she know? Does anyone know?
Find out on the next exciting episode of Dragon Ball Z.
Oh God.
What?
Pour up my blood.
That is just what
We're
happened.
watching a found footage film right now.
It's camera work.
A found footage film.
Oh, SK, your claws are too sharp. Oh, stop it.
What's his name?
This is SK. It stands for. It used to stand for Silent Kitty, but then she started meowing all the time. So now it doesn't stand for anything.
Speaking kitty.
Speaking Kitty.
Super kitty.
It's the speaking
Super Kitty. Usually it's just whatever is pertinent at the time.
So yeah, usually we play for a few hours, and then do a little bit of Q&A. I know that Matt, and James want to play some Heroes of the Storm,
Yeah.
which will happen.
Yeah.
I'm going to stick around for about 30 more minutes or so to answer some Qs.
Yeah, I'll hang out too.
Me too.
Cool. Everybody just look at this. I'm going to present this to everyone. Everyone look at Tim's face. Look at that disappointment on his face because he lost his sword.
I love that you take
Anybody?
some of our pain.
It was really good. Really showed it. He lost the sword. He's so sad.
He's like, oh, God.
Can you guys see something I can't see? I can't see.
I thought I was presenting you to everybody.
Yeah, it's
No,
just you, Tim. He's just showing your face.
Yeah, I was showing your face right now.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Because you're like,
You know what though?
I don't know.
It's that masochistic. I care enough to feel bad about it. It's the worst feeling that's good.
it's because you care.
Yeah, it sucks because I'm like, oh, it's a fake sword on paper that we made up in our heads that I'm sad I lost.
It's not even a +1 sword, man. It's
No!
just a sword.
Yep.
It's awesome, dude.
So I'll talk to Tim later and try to console him and give him a small little therapy session. But in the meantime, we're gonna answer some cues.
Yeah, no,
I'm sorry, I
go.
love you.
Hey, I'm the psychologist student here. Sorry, the graduated psychologist student.
Oh, congratulations.
At the graduate, Jesus. I mean the counselor over here. Thanks, guys.
That's where I'm gonna stop.
Pomp and circumstance.
Yeah, like Roger Rabbit, you can't do that much of it. I like jump off the wall, like, do that.
Dun,
So-
dun, 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 dun.
Dun dun. Apparently, I deafened a lot of people earlier in the flashback scene.
Yeah, with the scream.
Yeah, that was a scream. That
Sorry,
was
guys.
great. I have
Yeah, but it was great.
It
It was great.
It was unnerving.
It was loud.
It was great.
I've been practicing it for 2.5 months. I love how everyone's like, "It was great, it was great, it was great," and Cassie's like, "It was loud."
I'm just channeling Nimriia and being honest.
I'm channeling Nimriia.
Forward. But fine. The effect of it, good. Ears, not happy.
Bad. I even tried to back away and look down. Like I did everything I could. No, okay. So, thank you to everyone for tuning in. We're going to stick around for a little bit, or some of us, I don't know how many of us, we're going to stick around for a little bit to answer some cues. So, feel free to, I don't know, shoot some questions up. I don't know. Is that spelled Elfstrom? Capital ELFSTROM is Elfstrom's name.
Oh my god.
Yep. Meow. Today it's your cat, dude. It's your cat today.
I know. I don't know what do you want?
I want
I'll
love,
stay for
Dad.
a few minutes.
What Tinge?
I'm gonna
What love?
go sleep soon.
Give me love.
You're a trooper, Cassie, for staying up so late.
It's just work. It's not that late.
I mean, it's pretty late where you guys are. I mean, midnight's about that's about my limit nowadays. I'm an old man.
Yeah, usually because I have to get up at 6 a.m. I go to sleep super early, you know.
Yeah.
Anyways, questions.
Right, yeah, let's get on with it. Enough about me.
Jesus. Unrelated to the game question. That's a perfect one. I'm the singer for my death metal band and was wondering if you guys know of any bands to help with inspiration for this kind of music. So inspiration, like if you're in a metal band and you're looking for inspiration to inspire yourself to be a better metal band, Sinister Gates. Sinister Gates in Avenged Sevenfold.
Jackie Vengeance.
Shut up, man. I'm a huge Avenged Sevenfold fan, and they make fun of me all the time. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I mean, I'm always harping on The Sword being my favorite modern metal band that is just super good for inspiration for D&D games. They have a whole album called Warp Riders that's a concept album about spaceships, and they sing about like different folk legends and stuff like that. So definitely check out The Sword. They're awesome.
Always look into. Oh, I forget what the name is, but there's either a Norwegian or a German like death metal band that's crazy. Rammstein. Yeah.
German, yeah.
So that's
Really?
Rammstein. It's a
Rammstein
different
is-
language.
I forget.
but Jesus.
That's like saying I forget the name. What is the name of it? Is it
The Beatles. Oh, right. Yeah.
You know, Disney World.
No, Rammstein is awesome, dude. I love Rammstein.
Question from Blaine Rhodes: how often do you guys ditch your first idea or completely overhaul your original ideas for your world? I just did it less than a week ago when I did the prep session and we created Talonfall. We did an awesome prep session and a lot of people helped out, and then I was like, you know what? A lot of this stuff is just not gonna fit, so I took some of it out. All the time, man.
Yeah,
Be flexible.
me all the time too. Sometimes your first instinct is not the best instinct, and sometimes something better will occur to you. And if something comes along that is exciting to you, that undoes something that you previously, came up with, go with the thing that's more exciting. Like, you want to go with something that's gonna, bring out your passion for the game. So you want to go with the thing that seems the coolest and the most exciting to you.
Yeah, and I think that it's rare that I'll ditch an idea. Very often something will definitely, it'll change a lot, and especially over time. One day I'll have a realization, that, oh, okay, this was cool, but here's how I can make it cooler. But it is one of the main things that I have trouble with, but I always have to remind myself is there's, an unlimited amount of ideas. If you think of something really cool, but you can't figure out how to fit it in, it's like, well, just write it down somewhere and use it later. But if it doesn't fit, it's not worth trying to make it, because you'll come up with something even cooler.
Yeah.
Yeah, and never be afraid to throw ideas out, because like you're saying, James, I mean, just because you throw an idea out for one thing doesn't mean you can't repurpose it later. It's like sometimes my players are like, oh, I hope we didn't avoid this, or I hope we didn't totally bypass this, and it's like, if you guys did, it's okay, because I can use it later. Like, I'll use it for a different game, or I'll use it for a future session, or I'll repurpose it for something. It's like, good ideas are always good ideas. Like, just if you take something out, or if your players avoid something, just it's cool. You can use it later.
Totally. Blaine, did you see him repost? He said he should have clarified that he was talking about like screaming and death metal. Like, specifically, he just posted.
Oh, gotcha.
Just now. So here's what I would say. To me, a band that strikes the perfect balance is
Avenged Sevenfold.
Shaggy Vengeance. M Shadows.
The reference to all you playing.
Fucking asshole, Tim.
I love Avenged Sevenfold, especially like their hits and stuff. Except for that song that sounds exactly like Sad But True. It's like
Metallica, Sad But True.
yeah, except it's like ooh, it's like Happy But Lies.
It is.
But the band is Soilwork. If you've never heard the band Soilwork, they have exceptional screaming, and they also have really good vocals, and they have these melodic breaks. So, Blaine, check out Soilwork. I would say start with the Panic Broadcast, and then dig into the double album called The Living Infinite. That's homework, because that's a lot of music, but I think you'll be inspired.
I'm going to throw another recommendation out there. Opeth. Like the frontman from Opeth has one of my favorite screams of all time, and he also has really awesome, really like unique, clean vocal style. And Opeth is like folksy classic rock, and then all of a sudden it'll just be like so heavy. I love Opeth. Opeth is definitely one of my favorite bands. Probably my favorite melodic death metal band for sure.
Nice.
So, in all this uncertainty surrounding Quint, does he know what race he is anymore? And I'm gonna turn this question to Tim.
It's a good question. I think I'm gonna make sure that I don't give you a non-answer. Like, I'm not gonna go, well, and give you a non-answer. Like, we'll see together. I think Quint knows what race he is, but I think that he is fighting it, and I think that we will see more of what race he is very soon because of the situation he's in right now.
Cool.
Yeah, I think he does know. And I think you can all guess. You know what I'm saying?
Sam?
He's the Jackie Vengeance elf.
Jesus Christ.
What
if I don't have a Facebook? If you don't have a Facebook, you can find all of us on YouTube. YouTube.com/afistfulofdice. YouTube.com/tabletopterrors. YouTube.com/beabettergamemaster. If you don't have a Facebook. If you don't have, but honestly, like, to figure out when these games are, Facebook is the best, because as far as I know, YouTube or Google Plus or whatever doesn't have a really good way for me to schedule this stuff. So.
And I'm Fox Cunning Trickster on DeviantArt.
Fox Cunning Trickster on DeviantArt. Sorry, that's Fox Cunning Trickster.
But anyways, sorry to interrupt. I'm gonna call it a night. I'm so exhausted.
Nope, for sure. That's all good.
Yes. So I'm glad we could play. It's an awesome game, and I definitely look forward to our next session. So I hope you guys have a good night. And thank you for watching, everyone else.
No problem. Good night, Cassie.
Good night, Cassie.
Good night.
See you, Cassie. There's a question here that says, where's Barker's Pebble? I actually don't know what that means, but
I know what that means.
Do you? Oh my gosh! I wish I had a picture. I bet I could find one. My wife and I are adopting another hairless cat. This is like our way of adopting children. Anyway, so it's a boy, and we're getting him in early August, so just like 2 months from now. And we've decided at the last minute to name him Pebble. Because we like to name our animals nerdy things, and Pebble is kind of perfect. So because Pebble's just a dope D&D character. And all right, I'm gonna find a picture now then. Next question is, hi, good night. Okay, next question is, how would you do a crossover campaign, both story and mechanics-wise, okay? Say Pathfinder and Dragon Age. I've wanted to do this for a while, but I only kind of am figuring it out. I'm gonna fire this over to James, just because I'm feeling kind of like an asshole.
Well, it's funny because
Answer good, James.
That was the next one I wanted to tackle, but
Really?
sadly, I don't think this is what you want to hear. We'll tackle the mechanics-wise first. Basically, I wouldn't, unless you had a group that really wanted to try those two systems. Especially, it would depend. If you were playing two different, groups, and one group you always play Dragon Age, and one you play Pathfinder, you're gonna know the rules well enough, and that sort of defeats the purpose. But if you say just wanted to try those out, I think it would. For me, if I didn't know the system well enough, it would get complicated. Otherwise, if you play both of those systems, it wouldn't be too bad. The story would be all that matters. Now, it depends on if you mean you want to cross over with your current game, your current characters, or if you're trying to do things in the world with two different groups. With your current characters, it's not really a crossover. It's just you're just playing a different system. It might be interesting. But if you were doing it with different groups, say if we did a shark jumping provokers / Sur Salin, you would basically I would personally try to find ways to tie it together, which you should do in your one game anyway. Is you always, I personally think it's really cool to try to continuously tie things together as far as calling back to things, or when you meet that one merchant that tried to sell you a rug, he comes up later and he is the best marketeer. Things like that make a world feel alive, and making a crossover feel like a crossover instead of two separate campaigns, I think really relies on those details that match.
Yeah, that's a really good point there, James. And I'm going to jump on that and say that take notes during the game.
Yeah.
Like when I did not know that the person who was running the market stall was going to say, hey, sign this piece of paper until it happened. Sometimes you're just in the mood to improv and that just happens. But when you do that, you got to write it down, because I feel like every episode from the 5th episode on, you should always include something that the players did in episodes 1 through 4, or in previous episodes. Include what they did in that new episode as like, holy crap, we did that, and now it's back to haunt us. That's just such an easy and kind of straightforward way to ensure that your players are influencing your world.
And if I could jump in on that just briefly on the Dragon Age Pathfinder question, go back to something that web developers use, which is it's a quick 3-question statement, which is very helpful. It's, as a blank, I want blank, so I can blank. Here's what I mean. Answer this question, and you can usually find out exactly how you need to focus on it. So, as a DM, I want a Dragon Age Pathfinder crossover, so I can. And what's the answer to that? What are you really looking for? Is it the mechanics? Is it the vibe, the feel? And usually, if you can answer that question, you don't have to go as far as you think. You just take that one piece that you're really looking for and implement it, and then problem solved without having to go through a lot of exploratory work to figure out you don't really want what you thought you wanted in the first place.
He did actually follow up and say he meant making the Dragon Age setting work with the Pathfinder mechanics. So on that point, it's the same deal where basically if you guys play Pathfinder, I mean, you could have any world in that. It's the kind of thing where you could technically run a Shadowrun game that was D20. It's all about the details of the world. If you really wanted, say you watched all the Sur Salin games, you could, play in the Sur Salin world. It's all about making it feel like
Nope. That fits copyright.
Just kidding. Send the royalties.
But yeah, the idea being that if you wanted to, play in the Dragon Age world, of course you'd have to know about the Dragon Age world. That's one problem with I would really love to play in Shadowrun, but I've only played the computer RPG games, so I feel at a disadvantage. I wouldn't be able to write a cool Shadowrun adventure because I don't know all the lingo as well. And so if you're familiar with Dragon Age, basically, just write an adventure in the Dragon Age world.
Well, dude, yeah. Go to the Dragon Age wiki.
Pathfinder stuff, yeah.
Go to the Dragon Age wiki and just use all that stuff, and then just use Pathfinder rules.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
And I mean, I would say that Pathfinder isn't exactly a system that lends itself to plugging in different things to it. Like, it does what it does really well, but like for me, like the world of Dragon Age, like the magic and stuff works in a very particular way that doesn't necessarily sync up with like Vancian magic. So I would say like a system like Fate would work a lot better for like if you wanted to do like a Dragon Age game or a Mass Effect game or something. But like I've run space stuff using Pathfinder before and just kind of futzed a few things to make it work. And I mean, really, like Barker's saying, it's like the mechanics are kind of just secondary. Like if you get the feel of the world in there, you can do whatever you want with it. And if you want to do, not necessarily like this is Thetis, like this is a Dragon Age game, you could have Dragon Age flavor in there, like, oh, we're going to have like the Faith versus the Arcane, we're going to have the Chantry versus the, the Mages Guild or whatever. But yeah, just do what works for your group, man. And if they like Pathfinder, you can make it work.
I just want to jump in really quick. David Gaunt, who's been just ahead of the game in all the comments tonight, has made a comment that is that says, "Wibbly wobbly, timey wimey," and I believe David understands what the campaign is doing and what's happening right now.
I think that he.
Next question.
I think that when he. There was that part. I think he said it right when number 8 handed number 1 the sonic screwdriver. I mean the tuning fork.
Sorry. Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Somebody in the comments recommended Holy Mountain by the band Sleep. Sleep is like just the heaviest band. Like one riff just lasts like 5 minutes. You're like, oh, that was just one riff right there. It's just like. And you're just like, man, this is heavy as shit right now. This is so heavy.
All breakdown.
Yeah, it's just one. They have a concept album called Dope Smoker that is just one long riff. Like it just never stops for like an hour. It's awesome.
That's amazing.
Now, in the comments, Barker left. I was going to throw this at him. I guess we lost it. Pat Null said, how do you guys balance the need to have a story, to have a certain arc, but still flexible enough to let the characters do what they want? So I'll go ahead and answer for Barker here and say it's a lot of improv. Because, obviously, Barker asked us before the game what we wanted to do. There were a few options we had, and we thought, oh, well, there was that vampire sort of thing, whatever it may be, and we wanted to go there, and we did not even reach it. It's like, so in that respect, I'm not upset. Something else happened and it's really cool. But in that case, he sort of, did what he wanted for the story. There was nothing we could do. The magic stopped working. We crashed. But in the same respect, in general, when you're playing, if something happens, you usually interact with it. You're killing it.
My mic is falling over. I can't get it to stop tipping
Your
over.
sound card, your mic, you're just like...
He's doing it.
Just messing everything up.
Sound night over there.
So basically, all that to say that if you have a basic idea of what you want to happen, you let your characters do what they want, but generally, you control the story and they'll get there eventually.
And I also it's important to remember that the destination is one thing and the journey is a whole nother thing. So you can have an idea of where you want the campaign to go, and you can have, like, I always have, like, scenes in my head that I know are going to happen at some point down the line. But how and when the characters get there is totally up to them. Like, let the journey at least be malleable,
right,
to get to the destination that you have in mind.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. And the easiest trick to balance the story, and I think in addition to what Matt's saying, in addition to what James is saying, let your characters have something they want, and then put something between them and the want. It's just basically it's that basic writing 101, you know, and I think it's Orson Scott Card who he basically says, if your character wants a glass of water, put something between him and the glass of water, and something small is conflict.
Yeah.
That could be a whole scene, you know, so find out what your players want, and don't immediately give it to them. Figure out the person that would stop them or the thing that would get in their way, and then just plop it right in there and watch the fireworks.
Yeah, but people get caught up with the idea of the story. Like, oh, I need to craft this story. But story is conflict, and conflict, like you're saying, Tim, is somebody wanting something and not getting it.
Right.
And it's like, so let's like a really like recent example that is like just a beautifully crafted movie is Mad Max Fury Road. You have characters, and each character wants something, and they voice what they want multiple times throughout the movie, and stuff keeps getting in their way. The villain wants something, he's not getting it. The protagonists want something, they're not getting it. That conflict is the plot. Like, plot is a byproduct of all of that conflict happening. And so focus on people, not plot. That's I always say that. Like, people
100%.
Conflict equals plot.
And if you ever walk away from a movie thinking, why did that feel weird? I think I liked it. It's because they did it the other way around.
Yeah, it's called being contrived. Like, everything happens to make the plot work rather than the other way around.
And you can feel it. You'll be like, that's weird. Why?
Yeah.
That felt really
Why did they show up at that place at the same time for no reason? And why did they say that and act like this? It's like, that's called plot contrivance, everybody.
Exactly.
Think about. I think it was John Swoop that posted this today, but it was a picture of the 3 Ds: dialogue, description, and decisions.
Yeah.
If you come up with those 3 things in any encounter, what's that?
What was the last one? It cut out on me.
It was dialogue, descriptions, and decisions.
Decisions, got it.
Yeah, and dicks. If you come up with all those things. All those 4 things: dialogue, decisions, descriptions.
Got dicks to go around, baby. We got 4 in here at least.
Make a story. All right.
At least plenty of dicks. Anyway, come up with those, and you have an encounter right there. I think the most important one is decisions.
Yeah.
You know, if you can have your players make a choice, like, anybody? Yeah. Oh no! I'm gonna like Dice in one of the most recent Provokers games, if not the Provoker game, the most recent one. He decided whether or not he was going to behead somebody. It was not the most recent one, but the one before that. He was holding a sword and he was deciding whether or not he was going to execute someone, and in the end he decided not to. And that right there, just to put in your players' heads, is just a perfect decision, like moral quandary, stuff like that. I love those.
And we were just talking on Roll Up and Die, Barker, about simple moral quandaries. Like, you used the example of someone getting too much change back at the tavern.
Yep.
And it's like, do they give the money back? Do they hold on to it? Do they then feel guilty about it later on? It's like that. It's something really simple, but it's like even sometimes more telling than a big moral quandary, you know?
Yeah, and that actually, I think that episode is going to be on this coming Sunday on Roll Up and Die.
Roll Up and Die.
Sunday.
You know what else is happening on Sunday?
The Provokers.
What's happening on Sunday? I've got plans.
I'm gonna go see Mad Max again.
Yeah, I think I'll do that too. Right around 7.
I think I have a test or something, or some sort of homework.
Yeah, other than that.
Let me know when the Provokers are on, and I'll be sure to have that test at that time.
Yeah, I'll have a big internet outage.
Perfect.
And also a quick tip: if people are saying like, "Well, how can I role play?" That's a beautiful way to do it. Is those small choices. You know, it's another classic writing tip, which is show, don't tell.
Yeah.
That's what that means. Say, and if you have a DM that'll work with you, say, you know what? The barmaid actually gave me an extra silver coin back, and I pocket it. That says everything about your character instead of saying, well, I am a shady rogue, so just remember, guys, I'm shady.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I give you a shady look.
Yeah, it's like, come
You guys
on.
remember how shady I am?
Yeah, you guys remember when I was all shady? Oh, I'm like Slim Shady.
And you know what? Actually, that's a good point. Like, how would you guys feel? Like, I know that we're comfortable as a group, but the average person in the average group, is going to be, they might have as much fun as the Provokers or the Winds of Sur Salin or whatever, but every group is different. So my question for you guys is it ever a bad idea to say the words, you know what, I get my change back and I get an extra silver piece, and I keep it, something like that. I think that's always like a great thing to do. Not always, but I think that's a great thing to do. Could that ever be a bad thing to do depending on your group?
I mean,
if you take control.
I think there's a balance to be struck between like DM control and player like contribution, and like if a player says something like, "Oh, I get an extra silver at the bar and I pocket it," or I like the cup that I have my ale in, like I drain the ale and then like slyly put the cup in my thing. But if it's like, well, we're in the royal palace and I sneak up behind the king and take the crown right off his head and put it in my, I'd be like, well, okay, hang on now. No, not that much, like I think it's just it's like a common sense thing where you're like, you just know when a player has taken a little bit too much free reign over the game.
Yeah, so I could see it not necessarily being a bad thing because the DM is there to say, well, no, maybe not, but yeah, in every case where it's like you said, something small that just adds flavor is really cool, and it's any decisions are the best way to roleplay, like you said, but the same thing goes for DMing. Like, it's on both sides. You decide what decisions matter. You think, okay, what would this person do, and then write the story around that. And that's where the contrived feeling comes in the opposite. When anytime I see a movie where I'm like, why would they do that of all the things? It immediately points out, well, they're not role-playing well, but really, they made poor decisions based on the information, and that's what made it crappy.
Yeah.
I also think, as far as the group and what their comfort level is, I think Matt nailed it. It's like, don't do stuff that affects the entire party to a huge detriment to try to show your character.
Yeah.
It's like, those people assholes. And, it's like one of those things where you don't want to be that guy. You don't want to be the guy that's constantly saying, look what I'm doing as my character. It's like, it can easily become a broken contract. Because in this group, I think we have a really good contract, which is Barker throws it on us, but I always try to follow it up with, if that's okay, does that work for you? And there's nothing wrong with letting it be a conversation instead of a definitive.
Yeah, because we have a good back and forth going, like you're saying, Tim, where it's like you put something out there and Barker will come back and the finished result is kind of somewhere in the middle, right. where you propose it, Barker counters it with something else, and then it gets even cooler because it's the both of you kind of working together on that, and I think that goes for the whole group.
And a perfect example of that was I asked him if I could say what the katana. No, what was it? It was a different sword.
Wakasashi.
The Kobayashi Maru sword.
Yeah, the Kobayashi Maru.
Kobayashi Maru.
I asked him. I was like, "Hey, Kobayashi, can I tell you what this Maru looks like?" And he said,
I said Wakasashi.
Wakasashi.
And I said Gesundheit.
But he was cool about it. I had an idea in my head of what I wanted it to look like, but if he had something that was important to the story, or it actually has the emblem of Ellis Moonshadow on it, I won't say that. So, I just threw it to him, and he said, no, I had something, which, by the way, what were you going to make it look like? Do you remember?
I was going to make the blade made of petrified wood, sharpened. But you pulled in the blackness, the deepest, darkest black, and it was like, that is the shit. And it's one of those things, like, as a DM, where I'm like, when Tim was like, "Hey, can I describe this?" I'm like, "Yeah, hell yeah, go ahead." Even you gotta trust your group because you're gonna have someone say, "It looks like a dick butt." The dagger looks like a dick butt, and you're gonna have to say, "Okay, fine, I guess it looks like a dick."
Like the hilt looks like a butt, and the blade looks like a dick. It looks like a dick butt.
Yeah, and the same thing could happen with stats. If Tim's like, yeah, it's a +2 sword of blackness, and Barker's like, all right, it can be black, but you can't go making it, magical and kill everything. It's the giant killer. It kills giants in one hit. All right, asshole. I'm trying to give you something cool.
Wow, I just got one question though. Why gotta be black?
Just an asshole, Tim. I think that the best example of collaboration. The best example of collaboration is that I jumped in and was like, hell yeah, Tim's character lost both his swords. And I just sent him a message on Facebook that said, hey, bro, are you mad? Like, is that okay that I got rid of both your swords? And he has not replied back.
I don't keep Facebook open when we play because I get distracted by
Collaborate, you son of a bitch!
I don't collaborate, Barker. I elaborate. No, I don't know. I purposely don't keep Facebook open because I used to, and the messenger, it pops up all the time, and then I catch myself reading that instead of paying attention to the game, and then you'll ask me, you'll go, what do you do? And I'm like, stuff.
It's like at school all over again, where you have this in your head, you're like, I haven't been paying attention for the last 5 minutes, I have no idea what's going on.
Yeah, dude, so I don't keep anything open except...
Yeah, I tend to keep things closed for the most part too, but occasionally like I opened it up and I had an idea and I messaged Barker like, or like Barker came up with the schism thing and I was like, on the Provokers wiki, so
that was awesome. I've always wanted to use the word schism in a game. That worked.
It worked.
Yeah, exactly. That's my favorite Tool song. That's my favorite Tool song.
My favorite Tool song is Right In 2. I love Right In 2.
Really good song.
God, that's a beautiful song. God.
Yeah. Because it starts out, it just like is so slow and quiet, and then it hits.
Yeah.
I love songs that do that, man. It just gets me every time.
The crescendo.
Yes, the crescendo.
That Trent Reznor, Dave Grohl, and who's Queens of the Stone Age guy?
Josh Homme.
Josh Homme. That song Mantra that they did for the Sound City soundtrack is the shit.
That's a really good song.
I haven't heard that yet.
You gots to listen to it, Timothy.
Called Mantra?
Mantra.
Some players only try to get something out of the DM. It's frustrating, but some people don't think of it any other way. Okay, so the DM and the players, in my opinion, should get something out of each other. So, but if it's always the player's goal to kind of like, I don't know, rip off the DM and try to get the better end of the bargain, that's not a bad way of playing. If everyone at the table is having fun, go for it. Like, that is the point. But in my opinion, the way I play, I feel like that's not the purpose. I feel like the purpose is to collaborate. The purpose is to build a story and find a place. I have a binder called The Graveyard, and it's all my character sheets of the characters that have died. And and in my opinion, the purpose of my characters is to find a place for them inside that binder. Characters that have died or whose plot points have finished, but to find a place where those characters have become like full circle, and at that point they go in the binder kind of thing. It's one of those things where I'm not trying to get the better deal. I'm trying to control. If I'm a player, I'm trying to control my own thing. This is all I've got to control is this character sheet, and I'm trying to work with the people around me in order to create a badass story, a fun time that we can have every weekend or every month or whatever, until the point where I have to roll up a new person.
Yeah, I think that mentality sounds more like playing to win. Which, like you said, if that's how your game plays, or that's how your group plays, that makes sense. But when we play, it's not like when I play a board game and I'm trying to outsmart you to beat you. It's like, no, like you said, my goal is to show the flaws in my character and show an arc and try and bring the same things out of everyone, collaborate and make a cool story. To me, that's winning. Sometimes it's better to get the crap end of the deal from the DM because that's way more interesting and makes a much cooler story for everybody. You know, if everything was always good all the time, there'd be no conflict, there'd be no story, and, well, I'd be really bored, you know? If it was like, oh, I roll and kill it, good, we win. I'm like, well, you know, that's no fun.
Yeah.
Hooray! Let's go play a video game.
Yeah, your character only gets cooler and more developed if they can take a punch every now and again. You know, if you allow yourself to have weaknesses and have failures, then the triumphs and the strengths are more so. They just become better. Because they have something to juxtapose against, you know?
Right, and I thought that when he said, no, yeah, you lost both your swords, I thought, okay, so what's my story going to be to get a new one or make a new one? And I thought that's a great opportunity. That could be, for me, now I have what could be a miniature arc that could define my character one way or the other.
Exactly.
If I didn't let it happen, I was like, no, I find it in the mud. Yeah, okay, great, you have your old sword back. Where's the story?
Yay, I got my sword back.
Yeah, awesome. Now, if I do find it, great, but I think there's more of an interesting twist of, hey, you lost this relic that someone just gave you because his sister died. There's weight behind that and guilt, and then also, hey, you know, that fancy sword you pulled out that's all special, well, it's gone because, you know, it's not coming back. So, I don't know, I think that's way cooler than, oh, good thing I found it.
Yeah, because...
I thought you were just pissed at me.
Because then you can be like, well, I could make a new one, or I could try to find a way to get into the Shadowfell to find it. Like,
exactly, or
it
both
opens
of those
up
things in tandem.
Exactly. It opens up a lot of possibilities and a lot of, like, all of a sudden you have something to work for every session where it's like, right. I know what my motivations are because I lost my sword. I'm going to be trying to get that sword back.
Yeah, I thought a portal was going to open, and I was like, we got to jump in it and get his sword. You know, I thought it was Keengrin at first.
Yeah.
And I was like, this thing is taking a turn, but we're about to go into the Feywild and try to find a sword.
And I know Barker, he would have been like, all right, you're in the Feywild. And just for I wasn't mad at all. I was really just trying to process, like, okay, what's my play here? How would he respond? And so it was more just making sure I didn't respond too quickly, taking a pause and just saying, okay, I want to set it up right, you know?
You guys, Tim, you especially, I mean, you guys are just the best players because it's very, and this is probably where we'll kind of finish off before we go play some Heroes of the Storm, some HOTS, motherfucker.
I suck at that. Yes. I'm the worst of all of us by far.
But but you guys are, and Tim, this, you know, again, this is about you, but all of you are just super cool. Where I know that as a DM, I can throw anything out there, anything, and you will take it and grab it up and run with it. And the reason I know that is this. On tonight's notes, I did a different thing. I said, I put on the notes, in flight. And in flight means Pebble is going to go flying around to each and every character. And earlier I asked them, hey, give me 3 words to describe what your characters are doing. And that's how I knew kind of where they were in the city. And all of that was improvised. But that whole, like, first 45 minutes was you dudes. Just, you know, me saying, here's your setting, go ahead and do it. Like, a lot of people think it's difficult to be a DM. Holy shit, man. These guys, it's easy to be a DM for these guys because you just say, oh, you're in a marketplace and someone's trying to sell you a rug in the way that, you know, he uses a Big Lebowski line and everyone's like, all right, go, I'll take it, I'll run with it, whatever. And that's just the coolest shit. So group. You know, and here's the hard facts, you know, like you can have your own provokers. You can have your own Winds of Sur Salin, but they're never going to be the same as the provokers or the Winds of Sur Salin. you're just going to have to find your group that you can meld with, that you can toss ideas out, and they'll take some and toss them back. And someone asked, kind of like, it was is there any way to help someone improve their imagination? Not really, except for you giving them bait. If you want to improve someone's imagination, you throw out a carrot and say, "You want to take that?" Like, you've been given too much change at the tavern. What do you do? Oh crap! That spurs the brain a little bit. That's just an example, but all in all, it's all about the group. Find a group where you can throw ideas out and have them chewed up and tossed back at you, and you can chew that up and toss. That's disgusting. Anyway.
If you guys are interested in a cool example of role-playing, I believe it was in Barker's the video, the prep video for this, where he explained how he would explain how someone role-plays, and it was really cool because it was the best, easiest way to do it, and it's basically exactly that. You say, this happens, what do you do? Suddenly you're role-playing. You're just making a decision, even if it's you or you have a character in mind. What do you do? Suddenly you're role-playing. It's the imagination will come as people get more comfortable, and like you said, as you find your group. Derek followed up with sometimes players seem to get upset when things go wrong, and that's a hard one because it's part of the game. It's conflict. If nothing went wrong, everything would be boring. So it is all about the group. But again, it's finding the way your character or your players like to play. If they like to play where they're constantly winning and nothing goes wrong, if that's fun for them, you're kind of in a tight spot because everybody's trying to have fun, but you got to find a compromise. As you know, we love it when things go wrong. Tim is constantly making things go wrong so that they're more interesting.
It's the best thing. I'm serious.
It is. It's
the
good.
Best thing. And like you said, James, if everything went right, you'd just be playing a video game that you had, tried to get this level perfect for the last 3 or 4 times.
Right.
This is a role-playing game. There's a lot of reality in this fiction. It's really strange, but this idea that we have to accept that negative things are going to happen to our characters, and that makes us better players and better DMs, and it's just to kind of accept that fact that is an exponential leap forward, and just recognizing, what, I failed, and I'm going to make that failure so freaking cool that no one else in the campaign is ever going to want to succeed. And I use this example all the time, Boromir from Lord of the Rings. Boromir is not interesting because of all the times he says, "No, one does not simply walk into Mordor. Oh, look at this ring. I'm being corrupted by the ring." That's not what makes Boromir interesting. What makes Boromir interesting is the time where he throws all of that corruption and doubt and evil aside to say, "No, I'm going to defend Meriadoc to my death, and then I'm going to call Aragorn my king." What makes evil players interesting is not the times that they are evil. It's those times where they kind of push their evil ways aside to be good and show themselves as breaking through as good. That's what makes those characters interesting. So, don't paint yourself into a corner. Don't etch yourself into stone.
Right.
Take what your DM gives you, run with it, and for the love of God, the last question is from Pikanul Hussan, which is hello. And my answer is hello.
Hello.
I do. Well, real quick, I wanted to, because what you said was beautiful.
Nope, too late. Go ahead.
I want to. No, DM, you have to work with me.
Marco, can I please add with you?
Yeah.
Just Google, to anyone who is interested in seeing that and tons of examples, Google try-fail cycle. It's called, in literature, it's called the try-fail cycle. And basically, it's this bike. No, I'm just kidding. It's a
bike with backwards handlebars.
It's right. It's just like, oh, it's so awesome. The idea is that you have to fail a certain number of times to make the actual success means something. It comes at the cost of your previous failure. So Google that, because that third time that you try and the first two have failed entirely puts all the stakes on the line, and it makes it so much more interesting than, oh, hey, this is awesome. We found the Ark of the Covenant. Well, let's go home.
Yeah.
Like, where's the movie?
That
Like,
was the point.
you go to Marrakesh and, oh, never mind. Oh, the Nazis totally screwed up. I can stay here. You know, like, that's not the good part. The good part is you get there a minute too late. And then the next time you get there 30 seconds too late. And then finally, when you think you're going to get there right on time, something still goes wrong, but you figure out a way to succeed anyway. So Google try-fail cycle.
I like it. It's awesome. You guys in your chat. All right, thank you everybody for joining us this evening. This has been awesome. A great session, and a perfect example of a session that ended in a way that I did not see it ending. In fact, the whole "you are the number one" thing just totally snapped up at the end, and I'm going to try to figure out a way to work with that. But thank you very much. We'll go around the circle and introduce ourselves. Tim, go ahead.
I'm Tim with Tabletop Terrors. You can check us out at tabletopterrors.com or on YouTube/user/Tabletop Terrors.
Nice. James?
I can be found in the same place. Also, if you guys look behind Tim, that's where we stand to do our videos and look stupid. So if anybody was curious, he's yeah, there he goes. That's what it
Barker,
what kind of mics you got there?
Chroma's
what kind of mics you got
my
there,
thumb
buddy?
out of it.
Those are Super MX 570s. Those are Thule 570s with.
I knew it. MX 570s.
With the 9th Tim, I don't know
Dual.
what mics those are.
They are duels. It's a dually, James. Don't tell them our trade secrets.
Definitely. All right, Matt.
My name is Matt. I run the channel A Fistful of Dice, where this Sunday at 5:30 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time, you can watch Session 9 of the Provokers. It's going to be a blast. Don't miss it.
I'll be there.
Praise the meat, bitches. Also, before we go, Barker, add with me, man.
What's that?
Add with me.
Add with me to a world of pure imagination.
Oh, you fucking ass. Well, I gotta introduce myself. All right, thank you for tuning in. This is my channel, Barker. My channel is Be a Better Game Master. You can find me at beabettergamemaster.com. I'm surrounded by these assholes here, who are also some of my best friends. You can also this Sunday, the new episode I believe 11 of Roll Up and Die is going to be posted.
Woo!
That is facebook.com/rollupanddie. I'm on Roll Up and Die. Matt is on Roll Up and Die. And Alex Gillott, a.k.a. Captain Gothnog, is on Roll Up and Die. And just thank you very much for tuning in. Everyone, once again, you're all badasses. You don't even know it, but you're all badasses. Go take a look in the mirror right now, every single one of you, and I want you to look at yourself and say, you know, you're a badass. And thank you very much for tuning in, and I'm going to stop the broadcast right now. Godspeed, double tap, peace, blah.